Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Grappler Union podcast. Javier Palomo alongside Anthony Zito. Our guest today is Andrew Szczecinski. Andrew is a martial artist, world traveler, and philosopher. Enjoy.
I need the 6 minutes. It's what happens in that 6 minutes.
You taught me using any technique that works. Never to limit myself to one style. Keep an open mind.
We're not here to take part. We're here to take over.
In order to become more peaceful, in order for you to become better and strategize your life.
Yo. Okay, we're live.
Beautiful.
Andrew, Drewski.
I'll take Drewski. Drewski sounds fantastic.
Drewski, that's what Javier texted me. He's like, Drewski. I'm like, okay.
Every Polish's child's last name will be Ski. Everything Ski
right.
Afterwards is totally fine.
How do you pronounce your last name?
Polish, I believe it's Szczecinski, and then in English is Szczecinski. It's so easy
okay.
English. It's just S-I-Z-I-N-S-K-I.
Yeah.
I just want to start out the podcast real quick with you guys.
Sure.
So when I've listened to it, and I've listened to it, I think 4 different episodes, the beginning is always a thing from Conor McGregor, and he says, we're not here to partake, we're here to take over, something like that.
Yeah,
something like that, right?
Take part. We're not here to take part, we're here to take over.
There it is. Okay, that's a great quote.
It is.
Carlos Lemos Jr., Carlson Gracie Jr., Sam Ferguson, Aaron Brooks, Andrew Szczecinski. What are you guys doing? what happened? I listened to the podcast. I'm like, all these guys are fucking rock stars. What am I doing on this podcast?
Bruno, edit out the part where he just implied that Aaron Brooks is a rock star.
It's awesome. Dude,
I love him
that
too.
was one of my favorite podcasts of all time. Him and Sal, I know Salisbury.
Yeah.
That dude, such a good person and really funny.
You were just at an open mat with him, weren't you?
I was just at Salisbury's mat.
Where's that?
10th Planet Lombard.
Oh, sweet.
I don't know if you saw the picture, but man,
I don't go on social media anymore. I'm off.
At all?
See, you're a smart man. You are a smart man. I want to tell. I just started Instagram like 3 months ago. I'm already like, forget this thing, dude.
Forget it. Let it go.
I just want to say real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. I brought you guys something.
Oh, sweet.
Is it alcohol?
It is. So who doesn't drink?
Neither one of us.
Both of you guys don't drink. Well, here's the thing, guys.
We'll save it for Paul Maloney.
Here's the thing. Just in case that happened, kombucha for all.
Hey, all right, there you go.
There we go.
That's good
Boom.
stuff.
There it is. Here you go.
That will drink.
Outstanding.
There we go.
Okay.
Nice, thank you.
I brought myself a little
We
bit
also have beer there too. And we have beer in the fridge from
I
our.
brought myself
Oh, there you go.
a White Claw because nothing says frat boy anymore than a White Claw
I don't even know what that
with
is.
0 sugar. It's just seltzer water and alcohol
okay.
with
Oh.
no sugar in it.
Wait, there's alcohol in that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I am familiar with this only because it's a meme on the internet.
Yes.
Is it,
it is quite
the
villainized.
New version of Zima?
Dude, I didn't drink when Zima was a thing. I don't actually know what the complaints of that
Zima
are.
is? Do
Do you know what Zima is?
Is that what that is?
This is just like here's my plug for
It's
White
an
Claw.
alcoholic Red
Ladies and
Bull,
gentlemen, White Claw, healthier than any other alcohol. Please do indulge. Like it's good. It's good for me. It's got 0 sugars in it.
White
so
Claw. I mean,
my
it's-
group drinks it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks cool.
That
looks
did not
cool.
sound enthusiastic. It's cool. The can looks nice. It's got a nice little...
He likes the nice clean design.
I'm a fan of good marketing design.
Good aesthetics.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
I'm a fan of that. Yeah.
Guys, I have some questions.
Oh, yeah.
Shoot. Are you interviewing
I'm
us?
so excited I'm kind of like so excited to be here because this is the best sort of podcast. I listened to 4 and I was super impressed how you guys do things. Your questions, everything was so thought-provoking for me because how I've gotten into it is I was that like kid that was 12 that wanted to be Ryu from Street Fighter. So like classical, traditional martial arts, like karate,
Right.
this is the way, led me to Japan and all this. But to hear the grappling community, which I'd feel I'm a part of at this point, just not like big at all, but I've been around enough places where I've trained with some of the people. Like I had an honor of training with Salisbury, Aaron Brooks. I was just at 10th Planet. I used to train, as you guys can see, with the Rash guy, with Carlos Lemos, who's a great guy too. But I can say you guys are just so not only so funny and so good to listen to, but you all seem so even keeled, balanced, and everything is like it's a very good podcast. So congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Here's my question. how did this come about? Like, what started you to doing this podcast?
Well, I was a shadowy figure in the background for the longest time. The real story begins with Zito and the former host, Paul Maloney.
Yeah, so Paul and I, we used to just watch UFC fights at his house, and with a bunch of other friends. And we just talk a lot of shit.
As you do.
Right. So we're like, fuck, man, why don't we just start recording this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, let's just, so we actually set up my iPad at his house, and we recorded like the first episode with everyone else in the room.
Yeah.
Like there was like
This is the
5 or
first
6 of us.
unreleased episode,
We
right?
never released
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
No, it's horrible to release. So it's just us talking for like 3 to 4 hours.
Oh, that's
It was
fantastic.
just basically just the fucking iPad in the room and just a bunch of guys just talking around it. And I don't think we ever listened back to it. We just were like, let's just try another one. So we did another one, and I fell asleep probably halfway into it. I was sleeping already.
I didn't even know this. This is all news to me.
It was
So a bad early start, but you got there.
yeah.
You
So
got
then
there.
we're like, maybe it's just to do it live like that. Let's try some other ways. So we came to my old studio, the other office, and then we did some more on the iPad. It was just me and him, and we did I think maybe 4 or 6 episodes with just him and I.
Okay.
We never released them. I still have them.
God, yes.
I want this now.
You want it? I don't know. I have never listened back to them, but we were just kind of just trying to figure out what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it before we actually invited someone in and stumbling through it. And that was it. And we just kept the ball rolling. And then Paul got a little busy. How Javier ties in all this. When I started, I was a white belt, and Paul was a blue belt.
Okay.
We really didn't know a lot of people, and we only knew no gi players.
Okay.
Javier was always in the community. He did gi, he did judo, he did no. He was just the thing's called Grappler Union.
Yeah.
He's like a Grappler Union himself. He's
That's
walking
awesome.
around. So we kind of looked to Javier as our hey, can you help us get this guy? What do you think about this?
I was vice president of talent relations.
Right, basically. And he kind of set us up with, a lot of different, people and hooked us up. And then when Paul had to step away from work, made sense to bring Javier in. And as long as Javier can, continue to maintain this, he's in.
Until it destroys my marriage.
Exactly. That's exactly. Basically trains 8 days a week and does a podcast on the 9th day.
By the way, this is my first time meeting you guys. I saw Javier first. He greeted me by being like, "Yeah, you're at the right place, bro." He walks out of the car. You guys can't see Captain America shirt on, Captain America hat on.
It's that kind of day.
Gray sweats. I wish he had blue sweats, but dude, it's awesome.
I too wish I had blue sweats.
Because I love Captain America. What a great guy, Chris Evans.
We're gonna bond right here.
Chris Evans, what a snack. Am I right? Good
You
lord.
have to hear her.
I'm trying.
You can
I'm trying.
totally be that guy.
Tom Hardy or Chris Evans. I'm trying for something to make me look pleasant.
This is a good look. Either of those sides balance that out a little bit.
Right?
Yeah.
But dude, if I could rock a beard like yours, then we'd be in. But dude, so you guys, how long have you known each other?
Oh Jesus.
That's a great
5
Yeah,
years?
I
think
don't remember
5 years.
anniversaries. I don't.
No flowers? No?
Well, I met Javi when I first came back to jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So it was 5 years.
Yeah, thereabouts. I met him ever so slightly beforehand. We have a mutual friend who I used to train with, Gus. Gus brought him around to a UFC show.
Okay.
And introduced him around, and he was dorkier and fatter then.
I was.
Now he's still dorky but shredded at least, so it's okay.
I can't see you as fat, bro. You look pretty good.
I mean, to be fair, he wasn't fat. He was just
I see
just a
you.
little doughy.
Little bit of a dad bod? Little bit of a dad bod?
A little bit.
Okay, I see.
But yeah, no. And we got to talking. He joined 10th Planet Chicago shortly thereafter.
Right. Okay.
It's funny because Zito and I have run in similar circles down through the years. Okay. Probably even may have trained together at some point. But definitely, just back and forth. Because he's an old school JKD guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I had done Arnice and a bunch of my buddies were JKD guys. So, just constantly in that community, everyone knows everybody, but somehow we may have met at a seminar or something. Because I know his old coach, and I'd been to the school back in the day. But yeah. So just bonded pretty quickly over that and our similar size.
Yeah. How long had it been since you guys picked up the sticks?
I mean, I still bust them out every once in a while and just put them through patterns and whatnot. But I haven't done anything serious with it in a while. Back in the day, I would travel around quite a bit. I would go out to Pennsylvania, train with the Syaks. They did some pretty cool stuff with sword and knife and whip.
Wow.
And yeah.
Did you ever train with Inosanto? Either of you?
Yeah.
I got to train with Inosanto once too.
Yeah,
That was really
fascinating dude.
Mm-hmm.
I got to bring that stuff. I have a whole Inosanto thing with him. He signed one of the collie sticks I have.
Oh, dude, I'm seeing them right now. They're behind you.
Well, those are different sticks, but the ones that he signed are actually in a case and everything.
You should definitely bring that in. Why wouldn't you?
I don't know why. I mean, and he also signed one of the a nice little picture of him.
He's Machado black belt. He's a high ranked judo
practitioner. I'll put it right here. I'll bring it in.
There you go.
I did a speech at a thing they do in Chicago called Ignite, where it's 5 minutes and you get slides to explain something, and you just go. It's like every slide is something like 20 seconds, and you just got to go and go and go. And mine was about what Dan Inosanto wrote on my picture, and it said, "What they can do, you can do." And I kind of based a lot of my decisions in life when it came to martial arts on that quote.
That's
because there are so many times where you just see people, and you've had them all on the show, where you feel so meek and small and like there's no way I could ever get this level. But if you had that mindset of what this guy, like we all started off as white belts, what this guy can accomplish if I have truly applied myself, if I live this way, if I really give it my best, all of my potential, I will somehow make that journey to completion and might do something maybe even as great as that, or I might become maybe even as great as that, and it's worth a try. And I gave this speech for about like 5 minutes, and afterwards somebody came up to me and he's like, "Dude, that was awesome. Who's Dan Inosanto?" And I was just like, I never really plugged who the guy was. So it's like, was he a professor of yours? Who is he?
Right.
But I think that actually makes sense, though. I think that's good that you didn't.
Right,
because it makes people inquire and then they learn more information.
Right, but above and beyond that, that concept transcends what we do.
Matter.
I mean, that applies to all walks of life, truly.
Yeah.
So,
dude, who's the Italian guy you were talking about before?
Oh, Daniele Bolelli.
If he had done that 5 minute speech, everybody would just let him go the hour.
Yeah, for sure.
With that
Especially
accent.
the ladies.
Oh
yeah.
God, that'd be great.
That accent. Yeah, he was on Joe Rogan a long time
Yeah, I think
ago.
he's been on more than once, actually.
Yeah, but he hasn't been on for a while.
He's got a pretty cool podcast of his own,
Does he?
the Drunken Taoist.
Yeah, that's
Ooh,
it.
that sounds right up my alley. A drunken Taoist. I was a philosophy major in college, so I used to study religions all the time, and
nice.
I loved Taoism. When I read the Tao Te Ching, it was like it was the bathroom book, because it's so you can sit and read one thing while you're on the toilet, and you sit there and you're just like, I'm going to think about this all day now and try to figure out what the fuck this means, because the way is the way. What are you talking about, Lao Tzu? I don't know what that means. I'm going to go back to Calvin and Hobbes, get something from it. Oh man, I've read every Calvin and Hobbes book. Let me tell you, that's philosophy.
Calvin and Hobbes is deep stuff.
That's based off of philosophers. Hobbes is based off of Thomas Hobbes, and Calvin is based off of John Calvin.
Right.
And those are the two things that Bill Watterson used. I hope I got his name right. I think it's Bill Watterson used that influenced him on that. And Hobbes is based after his cat Sprite. Welcome to the Grapplers Union podcast. You're getting a full history of Calvin and Hobbes. Hope you guys tuned in.
Talk all kinds of various things. Yeah, it comes and it goes, it ebbs and it flows, man.
So the Drunken Taoist sounds awesome. I'd love to get into that, man.
Yeah. There's so many podcasts. It's hard to I'm driving in the car. I'm just like, okay, I want to, sometimes I gotta get off Joe Rogan. It's too many comedians. So then I'll just start searching for, other podcasts. I'm just like, it becomes like when you're on Netflix and you're just looking for something to watch.
Oh, you've got too many options now? Is that what you're saying?
Too
many podcast options. You're like, okay. And then I'm like, okay, do I want to go? And then I arrive at my destination, and I'm like,
and you haven't made a choice yet?
No choice. So the whole fucking car ride was looking for another podcast, and I didn't even fucking do it.
For me, that's music.
Is it?
I try to pump myself up to, if I'm doing like, a squat day or something, I'll be like Architects or whatever my guys are listening to. But usually sometimes I'm like, dude, I'll blast Enya. I don't care, man. I'll sit there and think about
I like
something.
Enya.
But it'll take me like 25 minutes to arrive to. That's the song I want. I don't want to work out anymore.
Dude, you know what I just threw on Pandora and I haven't listened to since I was like a child?
What you got?
TKA. Scars of Love. No, neither one of you.
Yeah,
remember
no,
that.
no. I'm drawing a blank on that one.
No, but some of my old school friends will know what I just said. So, you ever heard Cynthia and Johnny O?
No.
No?
I'm in, though. Tell me about Johnny O. That's somebody I wanna know
It's
about.
like old school freestyle. It's like back in the late 80s, early 90s, they had these like, everything sounded exactly the same. The beats were all, and it was just the weird melodies would change. It was so bizarre.
Now, so do you like hip hop then?
I do. I don't. I do.
Spit a freestyle for me, bro.
We've evoked the old man moment.
Spit a freestyle.
I'll listen to a little bit of hip hop. I'll listen to all music, basically.
Okay.
Heavy metal, everything doesn't matter to me. But I enjoy Kings of Leon probably the most,
Okay.
and stuff like that.
Here's something that's going to get real personal. Kings of Leon has a song that's my shower song.
Your shower.
The shower song.
The shower?
Like you time your shower on that? Or?
No. Oh, yeah, because it's less than 5 minutes. And, I'm just actually, when I was listening to the episode with Brooks, I take a bath every day.
You do?
Yeah, I do. Every single day.
Wow.
And if you don't think there's any lit candles and red wine joining me in that bath, you're absolutely out of your gosh
rose
damn
petals
mind.
are only on special occasions.
No, that's only when the girl comes over and then she's like, "Oh, is this for me?" I was like, "No, baby, I do this all the time. Welcome to my house."
It's Tuesday. This is it. That's all it is.
But when I take a shower, I listen to "Closer" by Kings of Leon because when I was in Thailand, I didn't have like hot water for the first month in my shower. It wasn't something that would it'd become like a privilege when I got it. Right. But I would train and I'd be so sweaty and it would be so hot outside that I would want the cold water. And so like I would get in this zone. I was kind of really into meditation then because all I did, it was like I'll get into that. It was like the perfect monk lifestyle for me. I'm super about that. I love being in an area where all I have to think about is martial arts and all I have to think about is how I can self-improve. Uh-huh. So I was meditating a lot. So I would get in the shower and I'd light a candle and I'd look down and I'd close my eyes after being like, gosh damn it, my dick's small. And I'd sit there and the water would hit over me, which would make my dick smaller. And then, but that song would play and I don't know why, but I get zoned out like immediately. Yeah. And it's a really weird song too, like really weird lyrics.
Yeah,
and then I'd shut off the water and be like, well, I don't drop acid, but that's kind of close, I guess. I mean, that's fine, right?
Close enough.
Yeah, closer enough.
Closer. There you go.
Beautiful.
So guys, I have to say, I've noticed that I'm drinking my hard seltzer. Both of you have not cracked that kombucha. If you don't want it,
I'll drink it.
I will give it a try. I'll give it a try. I'm unfamiliar with this one.
That's good.
My buddy has his own kombucha company.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he makes Jocko White tea.
Jocko White tea.
Are you familiar with Jocko Willink?
Jocko Willink is somebody that I not only listen to consistently, he's the only podcast to this day that's made me cry.
Made you cry?
Made me cry. It was the Musashi podcast with Tim Ferriss.
Okay.
And hearing how it just got me so... Have you ever had like a... so you see like an epic charge... Avengers Endgame. Mm-hmm. Have we seen Avengers Endgame?
No. He has not.
Well, there's a charge in it.
He hates America.
It's like, how can you hate America? There's a charge in it. Anybody that's seen it knows what I'm talking about, where he says a very specific line, and it's like all movies come into it.
It's been months. We can use the line.
He says, finally, Captain America says, spoiler alert for me, he goes, Avengers assemble, and everybody charges it, and the orchestra comes in, and it was such like you're so hyped, you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like,
I've waited years for this,
like tears, and so like Jocko had one, and I love samurai stories, and I love Japanese culture.
Yeah.
Tim Ferriss lived there for years too, so I have this thing where like I studied about Musashi, and I really want to read the book. I didn't get around to it. Apparently, it's a very boring book, but I'm gonna put myself
the actual
through.
Book of Five Rings.
No. I've read that book.
Okay.
There's a book called Musashi that most Japanese people talk to. Like
this
it's so thick, right?
I got it.
So I haven't. You haven't.
I got it. I did not make my way fully through it,
dude.
Yeah.
I'm going through Infinite Jest right now, and it's like 8 months of me just. I'm on page 400 of it, and so I know what you're talking about, where you're like have to grind through something, and it's just not worth the effort most of the time. I told my uncle I'd read Infinite Jest, so I have to finish it anyway. So I never read Musashi, but I knew about him, and I'd studied about him, but to hear the story and how he basically turns down this woman that is in love with him and upset, and he loves her too, but he abandons everything for the sword. The line that he says, where he's like, "I've married the sword long ago." Even Jocko's like, what a man. Like, and there's a thing on it's just like, gosh damn it, I got choked up. I was like, that's so awesome. And I get anybody else would be like, that's weird. And I'm fine with that. But I will say this, though. That is the podcast I want to listen to. Anything that influences me in a positive way that can optimize what I'm doing in my life to make me a happier, healthier person, but more importantly, give me purpose and drive. Jocko fulfills that. I really enjoy his podcast.
Good.
My favorite is I copped this from his back in the day. I love what he says back in this. Like my favorite line in the world. It's one day I'd like to. He was on my a guy that I'll bring up because Jake originally told me to talk to you guys because he saw me on my 3-month Instagram. Zito, I'm sorry. I know we're going to get off there soon. But I was doing a workout and I design my workouts to be optimal for grappling. And I was doing a chest workout that I get from Power Athlete, and one of the guys that he's like, the guy that runs is John Wellborn. He used to be an NFL player, unbelievably strong. Used to be big in CrossFit. Split off, did his own thing. His right hand man is like my second older brother, who I love and cherish. He's a great guy. His name is Luke. And Luke actually has a podcast called, I think it's either Talk to Me Johnny or just Power Athlete Radio. And Jocko was on there.
Oh, okay.
And I asked, I think they were like the top 5 in men's fitness podcasts to listen to. But I asked Luke, I was like, how was he? He's like, totally chill, normal guy. He wanted to talk about like, what's it like to raise kids?
Right.
And that's what we talked about. And it was awesome.
Down to earth. Yeah.
So kick it back to you, man. Sorry about that. So Jocko, I know Jocko.
Oh yeah, so Russell and Jake was supposed to go, but something came up unfortunately. Josh from 10th Planet Chicago, a couple of the other guys, they all went to the Origin immersion camp with James Klingerman and Jocko was there. I don't actually recall if Lister was there this year. Dean Lister.
Did you go?
No, I dude, it was right after Masters Worlds, and I'm like, bro, I can't take like 2 weeks in a row off work because you know. I'm still a wage slave, sadly. So but that was oddly, so Josh walks in, James greets him, and he's like, "Where's Javi?" He's like, "He can't make it." So they're all plotting to try and get me fired so that I can make the next camp. And I'm like, dude, if you get me fired, I can't afford the next camp. We have to balance these things.
Yeah. When is the next camp?
So I guess historically they always put it in August every year. It's typically right after Masters Worlds, but I guess something about Masters Worlds for next year, because the schedule is already released, but I haven't looked at it. Okay. Timing wise, it won't work out, so they're going to probably move it forward or backwards a week or so, I guess.
The schedule's released for Master Worlds?
Yeah, like they've already planned out when not the actual schedule, just like, like we have this weekend reserved for, 2020 Masters World in Vegas. So we already know. In theory, like I said, I haven't actually looked at the website to check. We already know what weekend it's going to be, and I guess that like it's not going to work with what Origin originally wanted. So, but yeah, that's like a super cool immersion camp, and like I said, my buddy Russell makes this really amazing kombucha that everyone that tries it absolutely loves it. It's very sweet and dare I say succulent. Okay. And he calls his company Combat Kombucha. Like I said, his main product is Jocko White Tea. Okay. And he brings it out. He ships it out. I don't know if I should be telling this. But he ships it out to the Origin Immersion Camp in Maine. Everyone loves it. Jocko's like, well, I don't like kombucha. And he tries it and apparently loves it. And there's some serious hope. Everyone's praying. Some serious hope that like maybe that will be a thing. Because how awesome would that be?
Fantastic. I support this guy. Let's plug him every episode.
No, absolutely. Yeah, Russell's good people.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and he makes good kombucha though. So
I don't know if I've ever tried his kombucha.
So. Mind you, most of my training partners are absolute lunatics, but so bear that in mind.
The best of people to train
best
with.
Kind of, yeah, exactly. So Russell, like we've got this little, I don't know how many ounces this is or milliliters, whatever, but like it's a normal size bottle of water size kombucha. Russell makes these growlers full of kombucha, and the guys will buy them and like down them just instantly.
Wow.
You're just like, wow. Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Does he have a website or anything?
He's got an Instagram, but you wouldn't know about that because you hate social media.
Yeah, but does he sell this?
This is the fourth time we've touched on this.
I know, right? It's weird. Right?
Yeah.
I was just talking yesterday about giving the Instagram for Grappler Union to Javi.
No, I don't.
I'm done. I don't want to.
You can handle at least that much, you bastard. Do you know how many Instagrams I run?
I don't know.
Too many.
Okay.
You run Instagrams.
I mean, I got my own. My Instagram is deeply neglected because of the other time that I have to spend doing other people's Instagram.
Okay.
Is that like your job?
Not at all. No, it's me doing favors for people.
Oh, what
Yeah.
a guy.
I know. What a
guy.
fucking moron that guy is.
Sucker.
But
So does he sell this? Does he have a website? Even has can people DM him to buy it, or is he just not?
check out. So I'm going to make sure I don't mess this up.
Right? It's called what? Combat Kombucha.
So yeah, his personal / business Instagram is Combat Kombucha. I can't remember if there's a dash in it or an underscore or something like that.
Or
but
my friend.
I am. I'm the worst. I didn't mean to start telling this story, but the kombucha came up and it felt natural. So check out the Instagram. I think you can just DM him for it and whatnot. But I mean, for the most part, I think his primary business model thus far has been mostly selling it to the dudes at the gym.
Yeah.
Like he makes a batch and he's like, boom, sold out because everyone loves it so much. Wow. So yeah,
You're making this like some sort of legendary dwarven mead. Like now I want to jump on this and finally achieve this Jocko.
I like the reference to mead because yes, it is quite sweet, though not made with honey, not actually any sugar.
It's like a tankard that's been around for hundreds of years. That's what I'm doing. Like I really want to try this.
Well,
right
now
now
we've built it up to that degree. You're going to be sorely disappointed when it tastes just really good.
Yeah, but I want to support this, dude. That's awesome. What's his name? Russell, did you say?
Russell.
That's
yeah.
awesome, dude. Good for you, Russell. I hope your kombucha does well, man. I'm sure it will. There
sure.
it is.
I want to try it. I'm excited.
Well, I can make that happen. No problem.
Now we were talking about social media. No, I want to say I wanted to ask. So, from guys that make a great podcast, what podcast besides Joe Rogan? Zito, I'm looking at you. What podcast do you guys like really enjoy?
I almost feel guilty shouting this out because it's like the hot topic right now in our
Grappler
community.
Union, isn't it?
No. I mean, we do good work, obviously.
Yeah.
No, I'm really enjoying Keenan Cornelius and Josh Hinger do a podcast called Matt Burn.
Okay.
And the fact that they don't particularly get along, even though they're super good buddies, and they frequently disagree with stuff. And they talk about jiu-jitsu at a very high level since they're both like world championship level competitors here. Frequently fascinating, like really cool. Some of the stuff they touch on, and obviously, like this is like a very niche podcast. You got to be into grappling to really appreciate some of the stuff. Although occasionally not, like they wander wildly off topic like we do too. But yeah, so recently that one's been a big one. I think they're on just on episode 12 now.
Okay.
I got to give Hinger some real grief because I went to their website to listen to it. A lot of times, like, I don't always bother downloading podcasts. I'll just be like, no, I'm just going to stream it at work. It's 2 hours long. I'm there for 8 hours. I work alone. This is no problem. I'll just stream it. So I go to click on the most recent episode, which is Josh Hinger and Lucas Hulk Barboza talking. And I read the little blurb about it, and I go to click on it, and I'm like, oh, this is the Robert Drysdale podcast from last week that I listened to. Your link is broken. This is what happens when Keenan's not behind the wheel setting up these uploads, bro. Yeah.
I mean, I'm a fan of Tim Ferriss, so I listen to Tim Ferriss.
Tim Ferriss is
my
the man.
go-to. Yeah. And I do like the
Tim Ferriss has a fascinating way of making me feel like I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
So, and we know how much I do. So, yeah, maybe I just need to be more efficient, perhaps outsource some stuff to India.
If you ever see his like morning routines and rituals and stuff like that, it's just mind blowing. You're like, dude, I don't like it. And the thing is, it some of the stuff he does, you would question, you'd be like, he looks kind of weird. Why? And then he will give you scientific data of why this is the right thing to do, and you're a fool for questioning him. Dude. He might be like, I always talk about trying to be optimal in everything you do. He might be like the most optimal person I've ever discovered. As in, like, this is why I do this. It's been proven this way, so I'm going to do it.
Right.
And I'm going to use a word that if you know Tim Ferriss, you know what I'm talking. That's sort of stoicism of just accepting logically what is right and just doing it no matter what you feel like. I love that discipline. That's fantastic.
So are you down with Stoic philosophy? Is that like your main jam, or?
man. No. I'm not going to. Dude, what am I going to be like? Well, I'm a big fan of Thomas Hobbes because of Calvin. Really? Back to Calvin and Hobbes, dude? No. I got into Stoicism from a friend who did the 4-hour work week and created his own compression sock company that took off.
Oh,
and,
good for him.
He told me all about Tim Ferriss, and him and I both had always talked about philosophy and metaphysics, ethics, all that other stuff. And that sounded really educated, guys, all that other stuff. But when we talked about it, he was the one that told me, he's like, hey, do you know Marcus Aurelius? Do you know Seneca? Do you know Epictetus? I go, I read Epictetus. He's really interesting. The thing I remembered from him was like, well, if your mother dies, you should mourn her just as much if your friend's mother dies or a random stranger's mother died, because it's all the same thing, technically. I was like, that doesn't work. But it was something that stuck with me because his mindset was, as if you read into Stoicism, is like that, as I've tried to explain, I actually just recently tried to explain it to my uncle, was that passion is the enemy, not emotion. Emotion triggers something in you that not only you enjoy life, the rushes of dopamine, endorphin, all that, that's wonderful, but it also guards you from the bad parts of passion, the jealousy, the anger, the sadness that can be crippling. And it makes you a type of person that is strong enough to do the right thing, say the wise words, and do the correct action, even when barraged by impulses that you would not want to give into. And for me, that just equaled discipline. And as a kid, that was like my number one thing, is like I wanted to be I didn't drink till I was 21. I never did drugs, even though they were all around me. I am starting to come around to maybe here's a jump for you. I actually one day might want to try ayahuasca, and that's it. That's the only thing that has ever called to me.
Why ayahuasca as opposed to like just DMT?
DMT, the 15-minute high sounds, or the trip, as they would say, because they say you just blast off. It sounds appealing to me because it's only 15 minutes. Right. It's not something I have to have anxiety about waiting for it to calm down. But for me,
I suppose that means how much time dilates during that 15 minutes.
You're absolutely correct. Yeah, well said. Absolutely. But for me, and I've said this, and this in no way is implying anything. I have anything like mentally off. But I don't trust my mind on just facing my demons that way. I'd prefer to do it with a clear mind and address things. I also got really big into hypnotherapy. My girlfriend is a hypnotherapist. I did sports psychology when I was in Japan. I studied all about it, and so I had somebody hypnotize me, which is actually due to the same guy that was an entrepreneur with Nabi Socks, which is the compression socks.
So
you got hypnotized by the sock dude.
Yep, and he went and did the. To be a licensed hypnotherapist, you have to do like a lot of, I think they would call it like table time, I guess. Like you have to have a lot of hours. And he went to a retreat for, I believe it was 40 days or maybe even longer. And every day was 8 to 10 hours of hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy.
So how when he did this to you, what did you, I've never been hypnotized, but what did you feel? What was
It's
going
so easy
on?
to explain to anybody that's meditated. Have you meditated before? Not so much?
So.
He likes to sing in the shower.
Dude, hey, if you got a voice, belt that shit out, bro. I love that. Give me some clubs and give me some buble. That's what I want to hear right now. But no, dude, so I've been meditating since I was like 23, simply because I wanted to get good at shutting the fuck up in my head. I have a horrible looping cycle, bro. Intrusive thoughts, all that shit that happens in my life. Like if something happens, I will analyze and hyper focus on that. So I had to find a way to shut it off. For me, when I was a child, it was reading. So I used to read vigorously as a kid because it would put me to sleep. Yeah, that's what I needed.
What were you reading? I just got to know.
Honestly,
like,
bro,
are you falling to sleep to like some really good fantasy, or are you like,
fantasy.
This textbook right here?
Dude, no, always fantasy. Mossflower, Redwall was Mice That Were Knights by Brian Jacques. That when I grew up, I was obsessed with Arthurian lore. My mom raised me about King Arthur and Camelot, so I was all about like knights, and that led to samurai as I got older.
Right.
And pirates, weirdly. I think we all had a pirate
strange deviation.
No, to answer your question, bro, when you meditate, I've only reached it at a very late time in my life because I'd have the Hakama pants on and stuff. I'd sit Seiza and I'd be like, And I try to get in the, and no, dude, I was sitting there either thinking about sex or, anything else that comes in the male's mind when you're 18, 19, 20. But
you were doing Aikido at the time, or?
No. It was Tenshin Shodan Katori Shinto Ryu was the Kenjutsu style. By the way, that was the best answer I've ever got to that super ass long name. Okay. Sure, bro. Did you just come up with it?
No. Like all those words made sense to me. I just hadn't heard them strung together.
Yeah. So I should have just been like Shinto Ryu. Like, oh, sure. No, the combat pants is a Kenjutsu thing. Right. And so I had a friend who had collected, I think, like 40 different weapons. I was obsessed with history growing up as well. So like I had friends that loved history, military history. So this dude had a gladius and he also had combat pants. And he's like, hey, you like samurai light? I was like, yeah. He goes, try wearing these, just see how it feels. And so I was like, you know what? Every time I meditate for the aesthetic feel of like this, dude, did not help. Did not help.
Yeah, I don't see the value to poofy pants for meditation, but guys don't know what we're talking about. Like, they're just like, what are these things? I don't even know how to explain it. But if you're wearing like a normal gi top, you're used to your gi pants. The hakama pants are like, they're these big, baggy, almost bulbous looking black pants that go over the top. You've probably seen them if you've seen like Aikido practitioners, Kendo practitioners. Steven
Seagal's
if you've seen old school Steven Seagal before he became
MC Hammer,
they are kind of MC Hammerish, but some of our listening audience isn't old enough to catch any of those references. They only know Steven Seagal as like that super tanned guy, dressed up in the black leather with the shooting glasses on all the time.
Have you ever heard
training Anderson Silva?
Have you ever heard Tom Segura do a Steven Seagal impersonation? Oh, dude, it's unbelievable. Sometimes people punch like this. He just flails his arm. But anyway, so the answer, I'm gonna land this plane. I swear, Zito. I'm so sorry. So it was 24 when I finally hit it. It was in Japan. No, excuse me. It was 25. I was in Japan. I had just taken a lunch break. I had 3 hours before my next class because I was teaching English in Japan for 3 years. And I went outside, I put on headphones, and I listened to a 90-minute meditation, and it was guided meditation, and it was that long, and it was about 70 minutes into it where all of a sudden I stopped thinking, and for the first time in my life, my brain shut off, and it was the biggest moment of euphoria I have ever experienced mentally, and I can't explain how viscerally you feel that after thinking all your life, stress, cortisol, that to just let go and be removed from all and just enjoy being. And that, like right now, that silence, that 1 second to actually be so plugged in that nothing else is bothering you. There is no filter. You just are. Was so euphoric, and I've used that word so many times, but it was sublime, to put it lightly. And I have sought after that
Chasing the dragon.
so many times, and it's so hard. But then when I was hypnotized like that,
really,
because I wanted it to happen and I allowed it. People always tell me, they're like, "Oh, bro, I can't be hypnotized." And I'm like, "Absolutely, you can't. Of course you can't, because you don't want it. I want it, so I do it." What is it? To me, and I apologize if I'm offending anybody out there that does hypnotherapy or meditation or both. For me, it is the exact same feeling I would get during meditation, which is I don't think about anything and I lapse. The only thing that I will say that is trippy is there is points in hypnotherapy where you will have a black canvas, right, right here, and your eyes are closed, and you feel asleep, and you're breathing, and it's just this wonderful, relaxing feeling, and then you'll hear this voice say, "Picture a field," and in this black tapestry of your mind, you will see a long green meadow or whatever you come up with, and it's so visual, and you feel so there. And afterwards, you realize how powerful your mind can be when it comes to imagination. And you know who realize how powerful that mind is? Really, really realize it? Kids.
Yeah.
Kids. Like, I'm not joking with you. The idea of when you're a child, 7, 6 years old, creating your own universes. And it's from somebody that writes. I've been writing since I was, God knows, I've read and written so young because I loved building universe. I loved, you get it, man. I love fantasy. I love video games. I love, dude, all that stuff, dude, all day.
So you think hypnotherapy gets a bad rap because you see the
stage hypnotherapy?
Stage.
Absolutely.
Shit.
And I think
people put those two together and they're like, what the fuck? I don't
Absolutely,
want to do that. I'm on some guy gonna make me cluck like a chicken.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, maybe they just need to change their marketing strategy here. They could be like induced meditation might be a better term for it than
it definitely needs a different branding.
So
work on that.
Right away.
on social media.
There you go.
So I will say for like the job that I do, I'm like a routine regimen coach. I try to help people get healthier, happier, whatever.
Okay.
That's
your full-time job?
Yeah, that's my life. Where
do you do that at?
I'm wherever people need me. I've taught like basics of grappling out in Thailand for a year. I've had clients in Japan. I've coached people from here in Chicago that live in Japan, that live in Thailand. Those are the only two places I stayed. I was in Japan for it's about 3.5 years, and then in Thailand for a year, 6 months on, 6 months off, and then back for another 6 months. And while I do this, what it is it would be anything for me like holding mitts for people to get that cardio burn, that cardio boxing. If you see my Instagram, I have a lot of my clients that are trying to lose weight. They do that. And I think it's been proven that it's the easiest way to burn cardio or calories, You can, jog for my brother right now is doing a marathon. He's fucking super athlete. And he jogged 20 miles and had and he lost, I think, like 2,700 calories, but it took 3 hours to do, right? Whereupon you can do an hour of mitts, just like hard cardio. You can lose anywhere up to like 1,200 to 1,300 calories of like hard, and that's an hour, and you're getting so much more out of it, right? Yeah. So I'll do that for people. I'll teach people how to lift because I've been lifting and I've been part of CrossFit. I try to put my hand in anything that will make me stronger and better and more fast twitch. Right now I'm on fast twitch, so being powerful, like power athlete stuff is kind of what I digest. And it's all about trying to be so quick with your motions and grappling. For me, it's MMA or real life, like on the street things that you can just make sure that when you explode in a movement, whether it be shrimping, whether it be transitioning to something, that it's fast, it's powerful, and you have correct application of force, right? Mm-hmm. So it could be that. But usually, guys, it's just like, hey, I'm a house mom. I'm 240. I can't go to the gym. I'm embarrassed because I don't want to lift. I don't know how to lift. I have 5 frappuccinos a week. All these things, right? And then what I do is basically attack what their lifestyle is, and I make a routine for them that is baby stepped. Meaning like, hey, you drink 5 frappuccinos? What do you think we should say? Hey, that's horrible. Don't drink any frappuccinos, right? They're not going to do that.
Let's get it down to 3, right?
Exactly.
And why won't they do that? Why won't they just stop drinking?
I'll tell you the reason why, brother, because I think, and this is something that I got from Luke, and I think it says it the best. I appreciate you drinking that.
He said drink, and I'm like, I should take another drink.
Is that nutrition? I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to watch your eyes. Okay, I'm going to tell you something. Ready? Yeah. Javier's watching too. We're all watching. Okay. You should drink lots of water, eat a lot of protein, try to limit carbs, stay away from sugar, and you'll be money.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Oh, shit.
You lie.
Oh, shit.
You had an acai bowl for lunch.
You guys listen. But, bro, why aren't you flipping out? I just told you the secret. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. You already knew that. Of course you did. Right. Of course you already knew that. You knew that because you have the internet. You knew that because you have bomb-ass friends. You knew that because you have a family that cares about you. And you knew that because the community that you're involved in, jiu-jitsu, grappling, people will tell you about how awesome their body feels. And you'll take from that and you'll do that because you have that discipline. Guys, nutrition nowadays, it's not scientific. It's behavioral. Mm-hmm. She won't stop having those 5 frappuccinos because for her stress response, food and sugar has made her happy. Right. So I have to tap into that and I have to say, hey, listen, we're going to get to a point where maybe we can only have 1 a week, but for right now, let's limit it to Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, not 3 a week. If I say that, that gives you the ability to be like, okay, well, I'm going to have it today. Oh, I had a bad day today. I'm going to have it tomorrow too. And then it just keeps going. But if I say only Monday, only Wednesday, only Friday, I want to work out. I swear to you, I'm going to lose weight. Zito, I'm going to run. I'm going to run 3 miles a day. No, you're not. You're going to walk. You're going to walk 4 days a week because you don't do that. And that will burn calories, and that will get what? Momentum.
Right.
And the moment you have momentum, I don't care what you're doing, I don't care what you apply yourself to, whether it be finishing a book, whether it be writing said book, it does not matter. If you start momentum in small baby steps, chipping away at the bad habits, putting a little good clay on there, adding some good habits, you're going to find success. My entire life, from when I was 16 and I was 17 and I gave up all sports. I've played almost like every sport. Giving up all sports just for martial arts, just to focus on martial arts. My life has been me fucking up, doing wrong shit, not ethically, but I'm talking like, not lifting enough or lifting too little. That's the same thing. I'm an idiot. Not lifting enough or not doing enough cardio or not paying attention enough to striking. Striking is like my main weakness. All these different things. Like I just consistently fail, but in those failures, I've learned what I need to change. And then step by step, baby step by baby step, I get better at it. You have no idea how bad my guard was. Like dude, I laid on my back and I'd be like, I want to be here anyway. I'm a top guy. I like crushing pressure, and I'm just sitting there and like, I'm lucky enough like you guys that have a community of people that are just, hey, just try this because sometimes people are going to take you down. Sometimes Sam Ferguson's going to nail a double leg on you that's going to put you on your ass. So
we just had him in here.
I know. I'm right. I listened to it. I had the pleasure of rolling with him one time. He was unbelievable. Afterwards I was laughing about I felt like we were in I have this thing where I have this with a guy. He's part of my group of friends that does jiu-jitsu, a brown belt named Mike Riomoto. He's unbelievable. I call him Mikey Batman because he pulls things out of a utility belt. Like you'll think you'll have him and he'll do some weird submission or weird sweep and he'll get you.
He's over at Alliance, right?
Yes, he is. He's a fantastic human being. Shout out to Big Mike. But what happened with him when I was rolling with him is we get in these modes where I'll have his number on something and he'll get like aggressive, and I love that. I love aggressive, like let's go, get intense. I love that shit all day. I eat it up because you know why? There's no anger because we're friends and we're not serious, as in we're not trying to really like kill each other. I feed off that sort of energy, intensity. I get hyped, dude. I get hyped so easily on the littlest things. I just cried at Endgame, for God's sake. So bottom line being is that with him, with Sam, when I was rolling for the first time, I rolled with him. We went one round and nothing really happened. I was trying super hard. I'm sure he was taking it easy. And then he stopped me. I think I might have, no, I don't think anything happened. I want to say I'd love to be like, I passed his guard. I have no idea. But I remember this. He stopped. He goes, we're going again. And I was like, yes.
Yeah,
that
we
intensity. And then he tapped me 6 times in like 5 minutes. And
I mean, did he handcuff you at any point?
No, he didn't.
I'm still working on that shit.
He didn't use Jiu-Jitsu yet. Damn it, he didn't have it. But he was a great guy too, man. And that's why I told you to at the beginning of the podcast, like the community of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's the one thing that I love it, man. Everybody is so kind to each other and so nice. And I feel it's because and I've talked about this before, but everybody has the innate confidence that like, oh, if something bad would happen, I can handle myself in a hand-to-hand situation. And that doesn't do anything for your guns, your knives, whatever. But I feel that when people do grappling, they have empirical, objective proof that they can handle themselves in a situation that if it's happened out there. I don't know if you guys have had to use it. I certainly have had to use it as well. But it gives you this confidence of not being afraid to be yourself, not being afraid to connect with other people because you're not afraid. I feel it reduces fear. And that's the thing I was talking about Jake for so long. Like for me, for you guys, perhaps this might be a sport or it could be a martial art. I mean, sure, it's both, I'm sure.
Right.
But for me, it's been a religion. Like martial arts is a religion to me. I get that. I have not stopped thinking or studying or traveling for martial arts because it simply makes you better at so many different things. And I believe in that so much.
So you said you started off with karate?
No, I started off watching The Karate Kid. Right. And seeing Ryu throw a Hadouken and me being like, I could do that.
We've bonded on this this very moment. Typically on the podcast, when we talk to guests, it is either The Karate Kid or one of the early UFCs. Mm-hmm. Occasionally we get one of the younger guys who's like, yeah, the first episode of The Ultimate Fighter. Mm-hmm. But, like those are oftentimes the genesis moments for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally. I get that. Karate Kid right here.
So for me, man, I started off when I was 12. I got a black belt in a martial art from 12 to 18 in a martial art called Toshindo.
Toshindo.
Does anybody know that one?
I do not.
It is the it is part of the Bujinkan.
Oh God! Of course it is.
Of course it is.
Yeah,
of course it is.
Was that through Hayes or all the way up through Hayes?
Stephen K. Hayes. So it was, and it was
how many sojourns out to Ohio did you do?
I did one. It was a big one. That was for, I think that wasn't for that might have been for my black belt, but. What I loved about it, and I will not shit talk it because there are plenty of techniques there that just simply, I would say, are, and the training methodology behind it, as in no sparring, no like really, really hard. They do a randori sequence, I'm sure, but it very much is kind of the same style as Aikido. They throw themselves at you and they do an exaggerated movement and you would do something, and dojoitis, your partner does what you want to do, right?
And you're the baddest man on earth.
Correct. But what I got so lucky with is two things. One, the guy that ran it, a guy named Michael Eichenberg, was I think he was a Marine, and he had been in a lot of instances where he's had to use this stuff, and so a lot of the stuff he taught me was very optimal. And he was a sweetheart, and he was big. He was really big, and I can't thank him enough for this. He would just instill in me. He wasn't like a tough guy at all. He was a really nice man. We used to go out and he'd get a beer, I'd get a root beer. But he would just be like, look, do you love your mom? Do you love your dad? I'm like, of course, they're my everything. I had a wonderful childhood. My mother and father are great. Why? And he goes, your mom and dad, you're responsible for them. So when you get into a situation, you don't be afraid. You get pissed that somebody's trying to take you away from that. That mindset, that psychology of like, look, motherfucker, you can't die. You have people that it would hurt. You have people that would be crippled. Mm-hmm. You have to live. Fuck this guy. Win. It's not a competition. Win. And I'm not saying like there's no rules on the street. I didn't need that. I needed that mindset. So I would
just like to interject, bro. There are no rules on the street.
Yeah, exactly. When we take it to the street, there's no rules. But it was the mindset.
This? What year was this?
Oh man, it was like, so let's see, 53 now. So I'm 34 now. So I was 16 then. I would say, what is that?
Though with Photoshop, we can make it appear that you are in fact 53.
I was born in 85, so that's like 2000, I think, 2001. So I will say.
What was that? What was he trying to describe to you? Because we used something like that in JKD in the early 90s. We called it the killer instinct. It was a coined phrase, I guess you can say.
Oh, was it really?
I don't know who coined it. I think
sounds like some Vunak stuff there.
I think Vunak coined
that
shit. For sure.
Dude, I don't know how many times I highlighted and read the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, but I'll tell you this, bro. Like it's exactly, and that for me was the big takeaway. And also there was a guy named Christian Sidney who ended up rolling with some of the Gracies in California, and this was after I had left. But he was unbelievable, and I can't say like a master because I don't know what he was, but he was incredible at Wing Chun. Okay. Wing Chun it was Wing Chun for him. It's Wing Chun, right? Mm-hmm. But he's called it Wing Chun.
Yeah. I'm familiar with that.
And so he would do tons of like real fast attacks on me and be like, hey. You know that catching the wrist midair and doing he's like, that actually don't work, bro. Let me show you to really apply it. And so wrist lock the world. I don't know who this dude is, okay? But I used to wrist lock people in JiuJitsu all the time and be like, when I was like, on the ground. And, that's where the Emote Gyaku, that's where the Iragaku, all that shit can work when you're like this with people.
Yeah.
And So I got to get really good at hand control. I also wrestled when I was in 7th and 8th grade. So like hand control was big for me at the time. So I used to love wrist locks from that position. Mm-hmm. But how would I put this? My come to God, I was going to say, I'm trying to say come to Carlson, but it wasn't Carlson Gracie at the time for me. It was my coming to Jesus moment, if you want. I think we've all had it where you meet somebody that just fucking ragdolls you and you're like, what do you do?
Right.
Mine was, I had the joy of going to Eastern Illinois University, and Matt Hughes had been the coach there. He wasn't there anymore. He wasn't there. Clay French, who fought in Pride, which is a weird tangent I'm going to have to tell you about, because when I was in Japan, I would know people that saw Shinya Aoki versus Clay French. Clay French was there. Chase Beebe was there. Okay. They were all Gilbert's grappling. My group of guys were JKD, Muay Thai, boxing, and like some ground fighting. I hadn't met them yet. This was like my first week there. I met some dude. Story's gonna suck because I don't remember the last name. His name is Kevin, and he ended up being on The Ultimate Fighter. Unfortunately, he didn't make the show, but he tried out. And I asked Kevin, and I'll never forget these lines. I was like, "Hey man, how you doing?" Like my usual fucking poppy self. He's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Oh, you a wrestler?" He's like, "Yeah." He had the cauliflower, just one word. Yeah. I was like, "Oh, dude, that's great. Hey man, I do some martial arts too. Would you like to roll?" And he kind of stops and looks at me, and this big smile comes on his face. He's like, "Oh, I would love to roll." This dude stretched me, bro. Stretched me all over the mat for like 5 minutes. I was dying. I was laughing because I was so happy. I'm like, this to me, and this is what I can tell you. This is why you can connect. This to me was magic. This was the thing. I was like, I am resisting 100%. This isn't me like giving some energy like where no, dude, this is like a rest. This is like 7th and 8th grade where I was wrestling, but you're doing things to me where I feel like it's going to break. I can't breathe. And like, of course, I had learned some of these things in the Buchikan thing, but all of it was slow and it was very non-resisting, right?
Right.
So to get in that moment, I was so happy afterwards. I go, brother, you have to tell me what it is. And thank God, because he just goes, he's like, "Oh, it's just, jiu-jitsu and wrestling." He wasn't the guy, and I've had that ever since. He wasn't the guy who was like, "Jiu-jitsu is life, it's all jiu-jitsu." It was wrestling. It was judo. It was catch wrestling. It's sambo. It's Brazilian jiu-jitsu. It's grappling. Right. And I became obsessed. I was like, I'm going to learn all about this. And my next moment was when I met a judo player. And I was 21 and he came to the gym. And have you ever been with a really good judo guy?
I know a few.
Yeah, right? I love telling this to people. Here is the epitome of judo. This dude threw me when I knew what he was going to do. He seonage'd me. I knew he was going to do it. He set it up. I stopped him. I clasped. I finger locked. I'm strong. You're not. Threw me
right over
effortlessly. Zito effortlessly threw me, and I hit the ground. I looked up at him. I go, "What did you seonage? It's a judo throw. I was a black belt. I'm going to study judo from now on." And I became obsessed with judo then, and I started practicing judo when I came back to Naperville. I did it out of Fox Valley Judo Club. Yeah, Sensei Guzman, I believe his name. John Guzman, I believe his name. Yeah. Old man that will just throw the shit out of you. And then the best was there was a guy named I want to say Marcin. That's not his name though. That's a Lithuanian kid that he was a Polish. He was part of the Polish team, and when he lived in Poland, I will remember his name. But he didn't compete anymore. He was like 45 at the time, but he was so powerful. He was like 230, but he's old school. He's like old man strong. We're like farm strong, like Iowa boy strong, where you just touch him and it's hard.
Yeah. Right.
And
very solid.
Yeah. He used to throw me so much. He loved to hit uchimatas where he'd smash down on my nuts, guys. That's the throw right there. And so
it's on you. Move that shit.
Move that shit.
Yeah. Get out of the way. Don't let him do it.
You're not allowed to wear a cup, so you just have to develop it. Like
that's right.
Right. Battle cock.
That's going on a shirt. So I did judo for like I think like a year and a half. I made like blue, and I competed, and I was like gold, silver, or some shit like that. I did 4 tournaments and I loved it. And then I was like, that's when the next point for me hit, and that was the mental thing. I'm like, why am I here?
Oh God.
Why? I'm not talking about the suicide. I'm talking about why am I here in Chicago
and not in Japan?
Yeah, like why aren't I traveling, being like you know what I mean?
Right.
So my mindset.
So you immediately got a duffel bag, tore the sleeves off your gi.
And I'll tell you this, and we're gonna come back to this, Javier. The greatest accomplishment I have ever had in the martial arts lifestyle I've lived
so far,
my thing was somebody sent an image to me on Facebook. I still have it, and it says, "This is you," and it's a picture of Ryu. It's an animation of Ryu walking down a road with his thumb up like this, and then the quote is this. The thumb is get something like get stronger, quit your job, travel the world, do martial arts, be awesome. And I was like, that is it. That's like I can retire on that. I don't need anything. I don't need anything else. So, but that was the big thing, was to go to Japan and do judo. I went to Japan And right next to my school that I was going to teach at was a gym called Paraestra. It was Nakai Yuki's gym.
Yep.
And I met a man named Tsuruya Hiroshi who fought Takanori Gomi. He had a great record. And he, I believe, and I hope this doesn't, obviously, he's not listening, but I believe he originally was the teacher of Shin-Aoki.
Okay.
Before Aoki got more into, I think didn't he get with Eddie to develop the rubber guard and all that?
He's in 10th Planet.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, I don't know the exact background of that.
For sure.
Eddie was over in Japan.
Yeah.
They bonded over some stuff.
Okay.
But yes, Shin-Aoki's a 10th Planet black belt.
So I went there and it was BJJ and MMA. And I had seen MMA, and I was big into Pride. I loved Pride. Sakuraba is still to this day like a hero to me. And the other hero I actually got to meet, and the other hero was Ensign Inoue. And I had a phone conversation for an hour and a half as if I knew this dude.
That is a cool dude.
No, bro, it's even better than that. He gave I don't want to like detach the story, but here's a cat. I'm doing this pilgrimage to Japan where you hit 88 shrines.
All the shrines, yeah.
Right. And he did that, and he was the one. I was listening to a podcast with him and Rogan, and he had talked about that, I believe, on that one. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I need to do that because this is like a big part of my life. I feel kind of been stagnant for the last year. I haven't traveled as much. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it the way he did it, which is like, I think out of the 100,000 people a year that do it, only 2 to 5% do it this way, which is you walk it and you sleep outside. Or you sleep with anybody that will let you come in, right? And so I emailed him. I was like, hey, man. I told him, like, hey, I did pancreas. And it was, like, so short. But I was just like, I would really appreciate, like, because your motivation, your lifestyle, the Yamato Damashi, that was huge for me. It made me want to get in the ring and see if I myself could challenge my spirit because I'm a pussy. So you were a big deal for me. Is there any advice you can give me? He wrote back 3 sentences. Yes. Here's my number. Call me.
Nice.
What? Dude, are you kidding me?
Wow.
How simple is this? Yes. Here's my number. Call me. And so I called him. You could not have met like a more like, yo, meet this dude at a bar, put your arm around him by the end of the night. You guys he was so nice. He was so kind, so cordial. So Sakuraba, Ensign Inoue was big for me when I was watching Pride, but I never knew anything about MMA really. And then the guy was like, he'd keep saying, he's like, Andrew. They'd always call me Andrew instead of Andrew because the way the accent was. And I didn't speak that good that well at the time. So I would have to do a lot of interpretation the best way I could. And they basically asked they're like, Maiichi keiko, like every day you train. Maiichi renshi, every day you practice. Like, nande shiai na? Like, why not a fight? And that's like broken Japanese. Like I'm rehearsing like broken. I was like, I never had that competitive, like, oh, I want to like be the best. And he's just like, yeah, but basically they're like, yeah, but like, that's what a warrior is. Like, don't you want to challenge yourself? And I thought of Ensign immediately. I'm like, all right, fine, let's get punched in the face.
I guess we can.
I guess we'll do it. And that's what set me on the road to my MMA career of just I did amateur Shuto. And then when I found out you can ground and pound, which you guys, I know you've asked this a question before. I really do hope you ask, like, what's your favorite technique question to me, because I have a great answer.
Well, go ahead.
Well, you got to ask.
What's your favorite technique?
Thanks, Zito. My favorite technique is fucking laying on you and stalling.
Good old lay and pray.
Yeah, which I did to Omar all day when I rolled with him today for the first time. I was just laying on him. I couldn't do anything. I tell people all the time, is like for me, practically, like in MMA or real life, is the ability to hold somebody down, to pin them, and isolate their hands, and do I love gift wraps, and I love just hand control in general, to do little pops. And if you ever see a great example of this, you've ever seen Roy Nelson versus Kimbo? Yeah. Like he basically just did an iron cross, didn't he? Just sat down, just tapped him. He's like, you can't do anything. I love that freedom, because in real life, in the spats that I have had, it's been a grappling takedown, usually judo, on the ground, hold the guy down, just be like, hey man, you're drunk. It's okay. We can stop. Like, I don't have to hurt you. I don't have to hit you. I don't have to choke you unconscious. I can just talk to you. Matt Serra was, that was beautiful.
Ryan Hall.
That was did Ryan Hall?
Yeah, in the pizza parlor.
That's old though, right? That was
that's way older than Matt Serra.
Right. So like, I love that, because the calm down, like that to me is a beautiful, beautiful example of when you have power, but you choose not to hurt those that are weaker than you, even though they're in the wrong, even though they're trying to hurt you. You have the ability, the gentle art, not the gentle way. Okay, the gentle art. There's the difference is the gentle way is more philosophical, like Judo, Jigoro Kano. But the techniques that we have to really pin people down, hold people down so they can't hurt you, but you have control over them, bro, I love it. I dig it. That's so awesome to me. So all I would do is I'd take people down, right? Because I became obsessed with Greco and Judo. I would take people down with real simple movements, like just osodogare, ochigare, all the sweeps mixed in with a Greco clinch to make sure that they stay with me.
Right.
And Japanese people love Judo, so they're really not used to just straight on no gi. You know what I'm saying? Like
the hugs.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I do these takedowns, and then I'd practice guard passing so much, like hours of it, of just getting this one motion. I still use the same white belt guard pass, and it's just the same motion. Get around the guy, hold him down, and then give him a little tap. Just give him a little tap. No, I mean,
I wish you had snapped a picture right then and there. He was hitting the table. He was so excited.
So what it was when I got there, like in amateur Shuto, you have headgear, you have shin guards, which I'm like, yes, I don't get to, get really hurt, guys. Like everybody else, I can't wait to fuck somebody up. I'm like, we don't get hurt, guys. This is great. But they're like, you can't ground and pound. I'm like, nandato? I was like, what did you say? They're like, oh, ground and pound, nah. I was like, no ground and pound. I'm like, well, there goes my fucking game.
Everything's ruined.
So I, would do well. And then what happened was I beat the champ from the year before with a rear naked choke. And after he socked me in the face, that jerk, who said you could hit me? And then I lost to a guy who was semi-pro, but he did some really awesome thing. He did something called the Outsider in Japan. It's where basically Yakuza and Yankees, you go in there and you just brawl, but you cannot have a pro record. So it's like anybody in the street can come on and they can fight. It's kind of like a tough man, but it's like really honored there. And this dude had done it like 9 times, so he was like semi-pro, and he was really good at jiu-jitsu. And this is a big part of my training that changed. Took this dude down, he got up. Took him down, he got up. Took him down, got side, he got up. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm cruising through this, man. We got 4 more minutes of this. Took him down, he swept me, neon bellied, rode me 3 minutes, won, gave it to him. Do you know why he got it? Because I gassed. Do you know why I gassed? Because I didn't like being on my back. What a moron. So after that, I went back to Surrey. I go, I don't want to do amateur anymore. Okay. Give me a semi-pro fight where I can ground and pound, and I want you to start working on like back escapes with me. So to this day, and you can ask my Yao Dynasty, the guys that I roll with, when I'm on my back, most of the time, all I'm working with is like escaping to get up back to my feet to wrestle, or I'm doing a scissor sweep, or I'm doing a knee shield to get back up to my feet. Like it's just the same thing, and I just rep them. Yeah. And that's the advice he gave me. He goes, here are the simplest ways. Work this over. Right. So then I did the semi-pro fight. It was like the guy hadn't fought before. He'd done amateurs. He was a Yankee. He was tatted up. Really cool guy, really nice. Went across the ring. He kicked me in the leg. I took him down. I got on top of him, punched him a couple times, and then they got me off. Best part of that story, I was punching him on the ground. Guys, I had been grappling now for a while. I was punching him on the ground. He hit me in the ear, and that's how I got my cauliflower ear. In mount, I'm mounting you, and you wing a punch and give me cauliflower ear. You son of a bitch. But no, afterwards, he was a sweetheart. We went out, we drank. He was such a good guy. And then from there, I was like, I went back home, and I'm like, I can rest my laurels. I did MMA. Like, there's no shin guards. I did everything, and I did well.
You retired undefeated.
I retired undefeated. And then 6 months later, I'm like, I got to go back to Japan.
I got to do this
and
again.
I got to be a pro.
Yeah.
And I went back to Japan, and I did the contest for Pancrase to be a pro. Beat the 2 guys. Same rules. You can ground and pound. So, bro, I was mounted on this one cat, pounding him in the chest like a gorilla. Because I couldn't hit him in the head.
In the face,
you can only hit him in the chest. So I'm
chest,
punching him in the chest like a gorilla. And talking to him like, I'm so sorry, bro. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what I'm doing. So I win it. And then I get to be a pro. And then that led to the people at my gym. And this was the people at my gym. It was, at that point, I had left Palestra because I went to Tsudanuma, where there were, the people at Tsudanuma, where I was at, was a very small club. It was 10 people, but they all were pros and they all did really well. Akitoshi Tamura was the youngest Shuto champion. Nobumitsu Osawa made it to the Ultimate Fighter. He was actually on Ultimate Fighter Japan. He might be in the UFC again. I think he'll fight soon. His nickname was Tyson. He's the hardest hitter I've ever met in my life. Sotoro Yamada is on the Quintet show for Team Carpe Diem, and I think he swept people. He's the best jiu-jitsu man I've ever met in my life, ever. He was unbelievable.
Wow, I never heard.
Yeah, he's on Quintet. His name's Sotoro Yamada, and he's just he's so explosive. All he does is kettlebells and probably steroids. He's unbelievable, and I have a great story about him beating me up. So all these people, and then the guy that owned it was Takaya. Hiroyuki Takaya, I believe was his name. I know Takaya is his name, but because I would just call him Takaya-san, but his first, I didn't know. So I believe it's Hiroyuki Takaya. He was the first man to knock out Joaquin Hansen. He's still fighting, and he has an unbelievable record. I think his first real bad loss was to Genki Sudo. So that was he was unbelievable in Japan, and his nickname is the street fighting Bancho, because he was the leader of a Bosuzoku gang. Those dude on the bikes with bats. He was the leader of that originally.
One of my good buddies who will be on the podcast in the not so distant future runs a gym in New York called Bancho MMA.
That's awesome. Good for him. So I joined Tsudanuma, and I met a couple guys that I became very close friends to this day, which is why I brought something in. But from there, I only had one goal. I was like, what's one accomplishment that I can have from being a pro? What's one accomplishment? Right. And he said that when my friend Ben, who just retired, he's fought all of us. He's just like barroom hero tough, great jiu-jitsu player, is now only doing jiu-jitsu matches. Great guy. He's the best personal. He understands my heart coach. Like, he knows how to positive talk me and shit like that. Just a really good guy. He's like, well, a lot of people have tried in here, and I don't think anybody in Tsudanuma has ever won the Neo Blood tournament. And I'm like, fuck it, I don't care who I fight. Like, let's just go. I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's go. Let's get into it. Then I found out who I was fighting. Cat's name was Chantamo. Chantamo was 5-0 pro and knocked everyone out in the first round.
No.
So that was exciting. How about that, bro? If I showed you a picture of this dude, I have never seen a more yoked individual. He was so strong. He walked around 185 and fought at my weight, 155. I walk around at 180 and I fight at 155. And I thought I was going to be so much bigger than these Japanese folk. And then this guy comes to the ring. I'm like, you're
eating
Adonis.
All the horse meat.
I was like, you're Adonis. And I had to fight that guy. And that's kind of what got me into the hypnotherapy about just trying to believe in myself more. Yeah. And to this day, that is consistently something that I work on.
So who do you train under right now?
So here's where I'm at. I'm kind of a gym whore insofar as that I will train with anybody that wants to grapple. I will go. I will visit. Doesn't matter to me. Right now, my Sundays are divided between Alliance in Naperville, and they got some really good guys. Mike Real Malted, who I mentioned, goes there. And then I go to 10th Planet on Sundays in Lombard. Mm-hmm. When you're there, you're like it reminded me of Valco's place. I'm just surrounded by sweat and really, really good people at grappling. And so it's very intimidating. So I love it when I go in there in my headspace. I'm just like, all right, man, here it is. Like, I gotta make sure I turn it up. I gotta deliver. And once again, sweetest guys. It's the best paradox. You go in there and you're like, man, everybody here could kill me and I gotta get good. And then everybody's so nice to you. And then where I train now, and man, my game has changed so much because of these individuals, is top notch MMA. Mac is just not only such a great coach, but more importantly, the guys that I go with there are on such a different level in their mindset. They're aggressive. Their aggressive amount of how much they put themselves, the grind. I've never seen anybody embody it as much as these guys there. It's unbelievable.
Where were they located?
They're out of
Lombard.
Villa Park.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Villa Park?
Yeah, Ricardo Lamas came from Mac. And then the main guy now there is a guy that I've worked with a lot. His name is Michael Santiago. And he He's like brown belt to probably he's going to be black belt soon level of jiu-jitsu, and his striking is unbelievable. And that I have a story about him that I love telling people because it goes along with like your favorite fight story. When you fight this guy, man, like it's, you know how you feel like let me ask you something. Have you guys ever rolled with somebody where they're just the antithesis? Like they embody something that's so hard for your style.
Every fucking week.
You know what I'm saying, man? Like there's something there. Like, for example, I'm a top heavy guy. I love taking people down. I love passing guard, staying side, mount side. I suck it back. And if somebody takes my back, I really am in trouble because I'm really bad at defense on back. But that whole mindset of getting the guy on the ground, passing the guard, scramble, using my explosive energy as well as techniques to really put that wrestler's weight on top, that's my game. And then I'll meet people that are better at it. You know what I mean? So for you, man, have you felt that before, Zito? Of course. So Santi can beat my ass standing up, which isn't hard. Okay, my striking is there, but it's not anywhere near these guys. He can beat my ass standing up. He can wrestle with me. And I pride myself on wrestling. Like Greco and Judo, I pride myself. And I can take him down, but he's taking me down more. But when we're on the ground, bro, dude, his ground and pound with how much pressure he puts on me is something so sweet to see and observe and something so painful to be a part of. But at the same time, that's the thing I love. And that's the thing I've told you. There's this healthy balance about aggressive, boom, boom. But I'm doing it because you're my teammate and I want to help you and I want to get you there. So he'll beat me up, man. And then afterwards he'll be like, hey, man, you need to start, like he'll pick me up mentally, emotionally. He's a team leader, dude. Nice. And all those guys there have that same mentality. They fight. This is the first word that came to my head. They fight to the Dickens. I don't know why, but they fight unbelievably hard, right? But at the same time, man, everybody's about being a team player and everybody's about like helping people out. They live that life. Nice. They want to make it to the UFC. I'm there like, I like learning how to punch. This is nice, and they put up with me. But that's where I train out of, man. So the most I've trained I think you guys have talked about this before about like one of you on one episode was talking about how you would like to have that like 2 weeks. It was like 2 weeks we're going to be doing double days, right? Mm-hmm. Right. I used to train, I think for 10 to 11 times a week, and I do double day Monday, double day Tuesday, single on a Wednesday, double day Thursday, and then like Saturday and Sunday. Saturday was sparring there, which, bro, is like that level of. Have you guys ever done MMA?
Not professionally. Or
okay.
Have you ever? I've trained with plenty of MMA athletes. I've all but stepped in the cage.
Of your credentials, I have no doubt. I'm just saying, have you ever been punched in the face super hard?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, got my bell rung a couple of times.
Yeah. So the idea of going into a gym where like people are there and they're part of your team, but you know how good they are and you know what it felt like to get rung, like that's that mental battle. Yeah, that's where I feel people don't understand martial arts, and that's what it is to me. Is this grappling is fun to me. I love it. I'll go every day if I can. It's amazing because I get better at doing something to be a better person. Right. And yeah, sometimes I didn't want to go this morning. I had a bad night last night. Didn't want to go this morning, but I went because that's who I am as a person. Just like the kind of two people you are as a person that can have an awesome podcast, put somebody on like me, humor me by drinking my kombucha.
This is tasty stuff.
You're
all right.
I'm glad you like it. Zito, I'm sorry.
No, it's good. I'm just not thirsty right now.
It's fine.
Give me a moment.
But that is the things that you've accepted about yourself. Like this is who you are as a person. You will practice this amount. You will give this media to the people to help people along. You will contribute in some way. You will be a good person. That is who you are as a person. So that is what you do, right? For grappling, that's something that I do, and that's something that I love. It's a passionate part of me. But I don't have to worry about like I'm about to go in this gym and I'm going to do something I love, but I could get fucked up. I could get kicked. I could get hurt. Right. I could get winded, and people will see that and close in on me. That happened many times where I'm just like, oh man, I'm so tired. And the guy's like, hey, I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? That's the best part is that from those moments, that's when I've improved, where I'm like, I weathered it. I took it. I didn't run away from it. Because I could have been like, my leg hurts. I'm going to sit this one out. But I did another round. And I think that's what I love the most about like the character building that comes with what we do. Because I don't think a lot of people can do what the amount of physical, you know.
I agree.
So
it's tough. We were talking about that after the podcast yesterday. Just how we train with each other and how that whole camaraderie works.
Yeah.
And then we tell everyone, do jujitsu.
Yeah.
You know, and everyone's like, hey, it's for everybody. But we see people come into the gym, they'll stay for a few weeks or maybe even 2 months, and then you just don't see them anymore. They're just like, or they get their blue belt, and like,
that one drives me nuts.
that blue belt blues are just like,
bro, I've had a blue belt for 9 years, I think.
no, you haven't.
Yes, I have.
You're still a blue belt?
Yeah. So yeah.
Sandbagger.
Sandbagger.
Bro, I haven't
Javi
competed.
was the biggest sandbagger.
I haven't competed, bro, ever.
Oh, no?
In jiu-jitsu. I have never ever competed. And I've told people this. I got it from Tsuruya Hiroshi. He's like, all right, you have to have a belt. He's like, he goes like, Obi-Wan Naniga. And it's like, belt, what is your belt? And I was like, I don't, what kind of, I don't. And he's just sitting there, he's just staring at me, and he's like, I could tell he's getting frustrated as I'm trying to explain to him in Japanese. Well, I kind of rolled in college a little bit. Right. I have this black belt in this ancient Japanese. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's just like, okay. And he just calls over his white belts. He goes, grapple them. And I beat them. And then he called over his blue belts. He goes, grapple them. And I beat them. And he called over his purple belts. And I beat 2 of the 4. And he goes, all right, so you're blue belt. I go, thanks, man. Thanks, Doug.
That's fair, though.
That was when I was 24. I'm 34. So it's been a decade. And I'm telling people, I was like, if I compete, I'm not competing at blue belt because that's not fair. And people pay money to do jiu-jitsu tournaments to seek competition. I'm not going to go in there and fucking put it on some kid that's been in there for what is that? Sometimes like 4 years only.
Sometimes less.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really depends on the academy.
Yeah. So, but here's the other thing too. And here's the argument is like, I know that and I don't want to do that. But then I have people that are like very formal that are like, hey, did anybody give you a purple belt? No. Then you're not a purple belt. Right. So you don't get to say you're one, which I've never done. But if I was like, I was going to compete, it can't be blue belt and it can't be purple belt.
No gi expert division.
You know what I mean?
That's all
that's probably the safest route because, Fuji was just in town this Saturday, actually.
Red Schaefer.
Naga.
You and Red Schaefer, you roll with him in a Naga, that's all.
Oh. You poor bastard. But anyhow, so like Naga, Fuji, New Breed, probably some other tournaments I'm just not thinking of. Grappling Industries, they're in the area regularly. Typically, the gi divisions are divided up by actual belt rank. So if you wanted to compete in the gi, you'd only ultimately be able to compete as a blue belt because that's your official rank.
Right.
Yeah.
But since you seem to want to not do that, my recommendation, do an expert division.
Okay.
It's going to sound crazy when I explain this to you probably, but the way the expert division typically works is anyone that has like 2 or more years of experience is allowed to enter it.
Okay.
And you go into there knowing that. The idea behind it is obviously like a dude who's, been wrestling since high school, but has no jiu-jitsu rank, but maybe at least knows some submissions or whatnot, has to have a field to compete in.
I feel you.
So Naga, Fuji, New Breed, they all basically do that where it's like the relative level of experience. You could get a guy who's like a fucking 10-year black belt, or you get a guy who's a 2-year blue belt. And everyone, like I said, everyone enters that division fully knowing that. So it may not ultimately be an even playing field, but at least everyone knows what they're getting into.
Sound advice, man. Everybody's been asking me because I've done wrestling, I've done judo, I've done MMA. They're like, how have you not? Besides boxing and Muay Thai, how have you not done?
Well, you lived in Thailand though, right?
I did, and I went to many. I helped corner many Muay Thai fights.
But do you do gi jiu-jitsu?
No, I usually just do only no gi. I did gi with judo, and I just when I went to Japan, I had this whole thing where I was just like, you know what, in MMA, this is really more without the gi. I just feel better. I wrestle better. I feel better without it, and I feel like it's more. For me, I want to get as close as I can to being in the cage. Sometimes I do it without my shirt off and stuff like that, as if I was actually doing the fight. I am not in any way whatsoever entering the debate of what is better for you, gi or no gi, because for me, I have a mindset.
Aldo just turned off the the podcast right there. Just like, no.
No, for me, as that I don't have enough information, nor would I ever try to wax intellectual about something I don't have knowledge on. So I don't know.
No, I mean, I did
approach.
no gi. I did gi way back in the day, and then I started back.
Barely counts.
Yeah, it doesn't barely count, right? Then I started doing no gi for a few years, a little over 2 years, and then I've been primarily doing gi for the past 3 years now.
Okay.
And I do one day a week no gi.
Okay.
Not enough.
Not enough. I agree. But now we have a whole, instead of 1 hour class of no-gi, now it's an hour and a half. So
Ooh, an extra half hour of no-gi.
Half hour.
Wow, look at you.
That's extra half hour rolling, dude. So it's hour technique and then rolling.
Right.
So what's so interesting to me about like belt and for me, for like belt ranks and stuff like that, like the people, I dropped the name before, the first student I ever had where I was like coaching and grappling was like when I was 20, was a guy named Sherman Yao. And I believe he is the jiu-jitsu instructor over Prime Muay Thai right now. Okay. Sherman Yao is an unbelievably tactical jiu-jitsu player. And he understands the small movements that I won't be able to pick up on, and he coaches me on them. I was his first coach. He knew me as a friend. Yeah, he knew me as a friend, and I cherished his friendship. He's a wonderful person, and we would sit there and play PlayStation and Fight Night and Final Fantasies. And Zito, I'm sorry, I'm throwing references at you. You probably didn't play any video games. Anyway, Javier, you get me?
He played Pac-Man when he was a kid.
There we go. Pac-Man's a game, bro.
Pitfall.
I'm sorry, that's the one you always love to talk about. Yeah, on his old Atari 2600 or whatever.
That's right.
So we would play these games, and then in my basement, in my parents' basement,
Right,
when I was coming home from college, we would roll in this carpeted basement, and I would show him technique. I'd be like, now this is a Kimura. Do you want to know why they call it a Kimura? Actually, I don't really care, Andrew, why they call it. Check this out, man. So Masahiko Kimura. Fine. Yeah. Just get in his whole history lesson, then show him the technique, and we'd roll, and I would just we would have laughing and having a good time. And then he went to Northern.
Okay.
And then joined the team. He is now a brown belt, and he definitely deserves it because not only has he competed, he's golded before, but more than that, he has an outstanding understanding of jiu-jitsu for his rank. And Mike Riomoto, another brown belt. William Brodeur, who rolls with us as well, has one of the best half guards I've ever felt, and he's consistently been a white belt because he just comes in sometimes. He never wants to graduate; he just does it for the hell of it, which I love about him. That's the group of friends that I roll with, and then sometimes people come in. Sometimes like the dude that used to coach at Evolution MMA and Alliance, Phil used to come in. I've had some guys from Victory MMA come in before and just roll. So we've had some guys, but it's basically just like brown belt players. Yeah. And then when we go to Lombard or when I'm at Alliance, it's basically brown belt players that I roll with because those are the guys I kind of came up with, Mike and so does that mean I'm a brown belt? Absolutely not. But what that does mean is that I know for a fact if I was to do blue belt, it'd be sandbagging. So if people ask me like, what belt are you? I was like, dude, I have no idea because I would rate my jiu-jitsu technical knowledge not even very average. It's just the stuff that I've learned that I know works for me, I rep consistently. Yeah. Here's something from Dao Jeet Kune Do that I'm sure you haven't heard 9,000 times in your life. I fear not the man that knows 10,000 kicks. You know what I'm saying, bro? Yeah. So you get that. So I would find things that worked for me, and when they would actually work and I would consistently rep them. And I have not changed that.
That's fine.
It's been very good for me.
Actually, to be honest with you, that's like. And there's no set belt rank where that happens, but usually that is a good sign of a maturing player. Because like when you're like a white belt, oftentimes I see blue belts that are still stuck in that sort of quagmire of techniques where it's like, I know the stuff I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't really have a game. It doesn't fit together yet, and oftentimes that's like a real good sign that your game is maturing and coming along when it's like, I don't need this. I like this. Here's my answer to that. I don't have an answer to this, so I need to find one. Like that's a lot of times when I start seeing those guys really like start growing by leaps and bounds. It's like, and like I said, there's no set time when that happens. There's no set belt rank. If I'm being honest, usually it happens somewhere around blue to purple or beginning of purple, I think.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, like that.
But I think the gi complements the no gi, and I think no gi complements the gi in so many ways. I couldn't see myself doing one or the other. I really appreciate both. Separately, I really appreciate doing no-gi because I like the dynamic nature of like just being able to it keeps me really honest because I can just, squirm out of things. But when I throw the gi on, I'm not squirming out.
Yes.
Like you're not going to like, get lucky at an armbar in no-gi. I mean, your technique's got to be on point. Well,
you could also be rolling with an idiot. Never underestimate the
100%
possibility.
accurate there. Yes, true. But if it's an even playing ground,
for sure.
Your technique is. So I just right now I couldn't see myself doing one without the other. I love them evenly, and now I wear like a weighted vest now.
Wait, what?
What are you doing, Murph? What's going on over there?
So I bought this. Hodger Gracie gi, and it's basically like a fucking weighted vest.
It's like 3
Weighted
pounds,
gi.
4 pounds.
It's so fucking heavy. So I wear this now when I'm just going open mat. I'll just wear it there, and so I can just.
Oh, shit. Zito's trying to get over 9,000 here.
Basically, I'm just fucking working so hard in this fucking gi, and then to take it off, you're just fucking. You feel so good afterwards. So it's like this is really. I'm excited about it.
So you need to do the gi, and then like while you're like all oiled up from your 80-pound gi, you dump it off. It weighs 110 pounds because all you're sweating it, and you're like, freedom! Finally, I can move at full speed.
And then he's fast.
Yeah.
It's like
Like the
classic
fucking Flash.
Goku.
Yeah,
Classic
that's what I'm saying,
Goku
bro.
and Rock Lee from Naruto. Classic. Well done.
No idea what you guys are saying,
Bro, I'm nerding out. Don't interrupt.
I don't know what just happened just now.
But hey, either way, man. Despite our little jabs of nerd references, that's impressive and well done. That's really cool.
I want to know how much the gi actually weighs. Do me a
It's
favor.
super
No.
heavy,
Like
yeah.
I don't care what it weighs when it's like fresh out of the laundry. I want you to go. Train your ass off.
Yeah.
Hit the scale
Okay.
and
Yes,
find
that's
out
a good
how
idea.
much fucking it weighs when
When
it's
I'm done.
full of
Yeah,
sweat.
full. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah.
And then after you're done with a partner, when he's laying there exhausted, I want you to stand over him and do the people's elbow, and then right before you're about to drop the elbow, rip your gi off so all the oil goes on and then drop. That's what I want.
This is a terribly homoerotic visual, actually.
I can't visualize. I don't know
we
what a people's
talked
elbow
about
is.
showers and candles. Why can't we hit a people's elbow with the gi off? I don't know
What
what's
is the
going
people's
on.
elbow?
Damn it, Zito.
He's barely a person. It's okay. So there's this pro wrestler. You may have heard of him. When he started off, he was Rocky Maivia. But you might know him
idea.
as The Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
Okay, The Rock.
And one of his signature moves is an utterly ridiculous elbow drop against an opponent who's laying prone on the canvas. Okay.
Is it as ridiculous
and-
as Hulk Hogan's like leg drop?
Actually, more ridiculous.
Even better.
Yeah.
Oh, even better. Even better.
It's so much more stylized and ridiculous. Yeah.
In all the best of ways.
Best or worst depends on your
Right.
perspective. Like
Does
if
he
you're
jump
going
off the rope and do it?
No. Well, he bounces off the ropes, sometimes multiple times, to build up momentum to really murder a guy, but then he stops dead, killing all the momentum he's just built up, goes into like a funky, almost a dance move, and then drops the elbow.
This sounds so ridiculous.
Oh, no, it's completely
I am
ridiculous.
So, I'm awestruck about how well you describe it. I pictured that in my head. The vernacular you used to describe that was genius. Hemingway-esque. I'm so happy about that. So happy.
Yeah.
So can I ask, guys? I'd said my favorite technique was stalling, and I will not be selfish on this podcast. What is your guys' favorite techniques?
Winning. Cop out answer. I don't really have just one. As a grappler, I tend to be a bit of an opportunist. I have like a counter wrestling, counter judo approach to a lot of things, which several of my coaches hate, by the way. But I find myself in two major winning positions frequently in competition in the gym. So when I'm working lower body submissions, any and every type of leg lock, although particularly ankle locks and heel hooks, since they're right next to each other. And then I really like working from the back, but I don't like conventional back control. I vastly prefer the crucifix. I feel like I've got more options for attacks. I'm able to split the opponent's defense more, between defending the choke, defending the arms.
Yeah.
I could do that to a fairly large person that I might struggle to control with just like normal hooks and like not that there's not a call out, but like I can't body triangle a dude who's even just a little bit bigger than me.
Yeah.
I can barely put the hooks in on somebody who's like Ryan size.
Right.
So
How about a Nevinger?
yeah, no, that's our new standard unit of measurement. The one Nevinger. Yeah, no, I don't even know if I can put the hooks in on his arm. It's a big arm, but like I've over time I've figured out that I'm better able to control from the back with like from the crucifix position.
Yeah.
Against a wider array of body types, and because it's still not like an unknown position or anything, but relative to like standard back control, most people aren't as good there. Like I've put in more time there than they have defending it,
right?
So it becomes a pretty winning strategy. Nice. So those are the two things that I kind of like bounce between offensively, on the ground, and have had pretty good success with that over the years.
That's awesome. Zito?
Right now it's shoulder lock. I'm working.
Is it really though?
Yeah.
I mean, like
the shoulder. I really love this shoulder lock. I'm just really working it hard, and I'm working
trash move. Yeah. No, I'm teasing.
I'm working hard at multiple different body types, so I'm trying it on a lot of different bodies, and usually I get people in it, and I like to sit there and just to see how long it takes for them to get out of it, and how long I can hold it for.
Right.
And I won't submit them with it. I'll just like to hold that.
None of our listeners have any fucking clue what you're talking about with your description.
To ask you to do the Italian accent and describe it, because I would love to know it. Come on.
No, I can't do the Daniele Bolelli.
The thing is, so what I really, really, really enjoy is when I'm rolling with someone and they are reluctant to just give me anything. Like they're just reluctant to put their arm out to touch me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, good. That's where I want you to be. I want you to be so nervous that you don't even want to put your arm out because you know I'm going to just snatch it. And once I insert my legs, between, and I get my hooks in, then you're like, fuck. Did I get that? You get that? Oh fuck! No, I can't get his legs out because I'm fucking. I love. So I love
Zito, your confidence is so sexy right now.
I just want to point out that like the listening audience can't understand this, but like Zito went from sitting on his chair somewhat normally to like pulling guard on the chair. He's animated. He's moving his feet into butterfly positions. He's setting up the arm lock. So
hold on. He said shoulder lock as if he was reading erotica. He was like, he licked his lips. He's like, shoulder lock.
He's definitely got the rose petals in that bath. So let me set this up and explain like I'm not trying to give away your game here, but when he says shoulder lock, this is a technique that Zito typically does from butterfly guard, or you pulled it from like half butterfly and a few other places too.
I've been playing around long,
right. So Marcelo Garcia does this a lot. John Sateva, I don't know how to say his last name. Sateva, I think.
One of Martial has pulled it off in competitions.
Right. A bunch of guys have done this, but typically this is an elbow lock or a shoulder lock, depending on where he grips. Right. So like he'll like fake a butterfly sweep, maybe with double unders, maybe doesn't have the double unders yet. You post to block it. If you grab the head, that's an option as well. And he's gonna underhook, get that udigatami grip. Like on the elbow or up by the shoulder, and then stretch you out with the butterfly hooks. So now he's got options. He's going to use that to sweep you. He's going to use that to lock the elbow or shoulder. You can like try to take a dive roll out of it, and he's got follow-up options from there. And I've seen him progress in this game just over a couple of like maybe 3 roll sessions from where it started versus where it was probably a period of like 3 months. I've seen it grow by leaps and bounds. So I do know that he's working on it hard, and it's coming along.
I'm enjoying it.
And I was going to say, obviously, study the GOAT. Marcelo, very, very good with that technique. There's breakdowns of YouTube on that. MG in Action has a ton of material on the sweep sequences he likes to play from that butterfly and underhook game. But I actually just got John Sateva's no-gi butterfly guard instructional, and he's got a lengthy section just on like inverted arm bar, which is what he calls it.
That's awesome.
And what's interesting is that it
all ties together.
I enjoy like my instructor is Andre Maneco.
Okay.
So I don't know when I started doing this exactly, but I used to do it only in no gi.
Okay.
I never really utilized it in the gi because for some reason I just compartmentalized. I'm like, oh, this is a no gi technique. And I would only do it there. He was then showing it in no gi, and it kind of like, I'm like, oh, I do this technique. He goes, yeah, where'd you learn it from? I'm like, I don't really know where I picked it up from.
Yeah.
When he did, then I'm like, fuck, I wonder if I could do this in the gi. Why do I got to grip all the time? You know. So then I started utilizing the gi, and I'm like, fuck, this is really, really good.
Right.
In the gi, it's even better because they can't just
sticks in there a little better.
Sticks in there a little better. They can't just fucking squirm out. And I'm like, this is fucking beautiful. And then now I'm just evolving it. But I don't want to. I have heard Marcelo Garcia does this technique, and I've seen Gordon Ryan do it in a competition, but I haven't explored it. It's just because I just want to explore it on my own right now. See where I can take it.
You want to enjoy the meandering path of reinventing the wheel.
No, not reinventing. It's just my own little journey of like, oh, where can I go instead of just going.
Everyone's like, yes, I'm down with what you're saying.
It's fun for me
I know
to
what it's
sit
like.
there and explore. And
I love workshopping stuff.
Yeah,
like,
just,
I really
just for
do.
my own. I don't want to just. Yeah, everyone likes to just go to the end and read what happens at the end of that book. You know,
Yeah.
I don't. I just want to enjoy the whole thing.
He dies.
Yeah, probably. Always.
Newsflash,
does.
everyone. In the end, everyone dies.
So that's what I'm.
That's his story.
That's
my
awesome,
thing.
man. You're gonna have to show that to me when I get outside. When we get out and do the mad
it's
stuff.
a lot of fun.
But I think thoroughly one of the best parts about jiu-jitsu is identifying what you lack in, and then there's two routes you can take. You can take the Zito, which is you just attack it and you dissect it and you do it, or you take the Andrew, which is completely avoid it and ignore it. Be like, I don't want to do. I don't want to be in my bag. I
just want to deal with this shit.
Deal with this right now. I want to think I'm strong. No, I think that everybody is forced to address where they lack, and then where they're strong, they celebrate that, and that kind of leads into what I was talking about before, sports psychology. So I think the best thing for people when they train is to consistently figure out how they learn the best. Tim Ferriss always talks about this. Like, what is the best way to learn? In fact, he had a guy on that you might have to help me out with. He is a chess champion and
Josh Waitzkin?
Yep. And he was talking about how he puts on a song and it gets him in that flow state because he's done it so many times. He has worked to this level. And that is what I'm talking about when I talk about like routine and consistently doing something and getting yourself in that mindset where you can zone out or be that person at that time when you need to be. Like, doesn't matter that you don't want to lift, doesn't matter that you don't want to go to jiu-jitsu, doesn't matter that you don't want to eat or that you want to eat this but you can't. You just become that person. So have you guys ever had a professor, an instructor that literally fed you knowledge very well, but what they did even better was they embodied this style of like believing in you, so you believed in yourself, like you actually started having confidence? When can you tell me was the first time when you guys rolled when you're like, oh my God, I'm actually kind of good at this, like I can do this movement, or I just beat this person? Like, what is the biggest win you've had in jiu-jitsu? Where was the moment that you're like, okay, like I want to keep doing this because I am good, I believe in myself?
I mean, for me, it wasn't even jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So,
Can I interject? Was it when you finally achieved your dream of getting Andrew Szczecinski on the podcast?
how did you know? I've been working this one for 2 years, guys. He didn't know. Truthfully, I didn't know either.
Go ahead, brother. I'm so good.
Now, so this relates more to like learning.
Yeah.
I grew up thinking I was really bad at math.
Okay.
I enjoyed English. I liked writing. I was very creative, and I just felt like math was the enemy. And I think a lot of people kind of experience this. And eventually, I for the record, I figured out that I was not bad at math. I simply wasn't like a full-fledged mathlete like most of my nerd buddies. But I think it was 6th grade. I had a math teacher, and I just wanted to give up completely on what we were doing, and the dude just would not give up on me. But the important thing that he figured out was that I didn't learn like the other kids, and I needed to do certain mnemonic tricks to get myself to learn certain rules of math. So he kind of started teaching me how to learn, and indirectly, he's very responsible for teaching me how to teach, because I observed and to this day use a lot of the simple things that he showed me as ways of relating technique to people through multiple ways until you see that it clicks. That was a really important thing. So learning that I wasn't bad at math, that I just hadn't had anyone that got through to me.
Right.
Was a real breakthrough moment, because there were all these other things in my life that I kind of thought I'd never be able to do.
Yeah.
And it was just like, well, maybe I can, and I just haven't tried with the right person or heard it the right way.
Right.
And it's funny because, you know, like that is my struggle every day. A lot of people, because I've been doing martial arts for so long, a lot of people will see me like learn some new technique and they're like, oh, he got it right away. I'm like, yeah, well, that's because it's like identical to something that I did 10 years ago, and it just brought back the memories or super related to it.
Yeah.
But I'm actually like a conventionally slow learner. So like somebody will introduce some new concept to me and I'll be like, this doesn't make any sense. What is this Berimbolo bullshit? Why do I have to spin upside down? And do I have to grip his pants and his belt? This is embarrassing. Yeah, like things like that. Like I have weird moments like that, and then, you know, I stick with it. I find the right person to show me. Something clicks. It's like, oh, now I can do this. You know. So yeah, like. And I look forward to those little victories on the mat so much, especially when it's something I think I know and I don't really know it. And then somebody just frames it the right way. I'm like, this works now, you know? So yeah, like I think that's the big thing. And that honestly might be the thing that probably keeps me engaged the most, because while I really love that sort of runner's high-esque feeling of a really super aggressive role, and I love the camaraderie and you know, acai's not bad tasting either. like the real thing that gets me and sticks me is that I'm constantly running into problems. I am constantly finding new and creative ways to solve them. There's no one best way for everything. You know, because if there was one best thing, we'd all just do that thing and everything would be fucking boring. Right. So like finding those challenges and overcoming them is probably the most addictive part of what we do for me. You know, like, I don't know. It's a very cerebral aspect to the game that I appreciate.
That's awesome, man. That's really, because I was expecting you to be like, well, you know, I learned this one, that you took me down a road of
a different rabbit hole.
No, but that's the best, because that is so applicable to anything you can talk about, whether it be jiu-jitsu or relationships with people or the way you look at the world, your perspective.
My sixth grade math teacher did not help me with my relationships. I just want to point that out. No.
Well, the math worked out. You're like, well,
You do the perfect, you can do the beautiful mind thing. Dealing with women, that's an entirely different problem.
Can we just get to the chemical exchange now? Isn't that the line? Yeah, that's it. That's the line.
What is that line from?
So, Beautiful Mind. Oh, I believe he goes up to her and is just.
Was that just too oblique of a reference, or have you not actually seen A Beautiful Mind?
I've seen A Beautiful Mind. I don't remember that reference at all.
With his wife, his future wife, he sits down at a bar and just kind of just goes, "Can we get to the chemical exchange?"
Oh, you're right. That is right.
By the way, that's my attempt at that dude's voice. Completely off. I don't know. He doesn't talk like that. That's what I came up with. So, Zito, what do you got for me?
What was the question?
Bro,
I was so
it was math. Sorry.
I was so into Javi's fucking answer. I don't even remember the question.
I get it. I was saying, what was one moment, like the biggest win you got, where for me, I was talking about like professors that like believe in you and all that, and you start believing in yourself. Like, oh my god, I'm actually good at this. Like, go ahead.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with jiu-jitsu.
Okay, do it.
Or not. It was just when I started my computer company.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have a computer company?
I do.
We're sitting in that office right now.
Don't play computer games.
I don't play games.
He's the worst.
I know.
Give it to me, Zito.
Yeah. So, 2001. I met. Well, I didn't meet him in 2001. I met him in like '99. A friend of mine, Adam. And we kind of met at a bar. It was like a local bar, and my girlfriend at the time was friends with one of his friends. Anyway, met him, and he's like, he was a nerd, right? He loved fucking computers. I'm like, dude, I love computers.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Let's nerd out a little bit. Let's talk about, fucking computers. So we did. We just like changed numbers, and if I had like a computer question, we'd hit each other up. And then he also liked chess. I like chess. Cool, man. We could play chess, and we can talk about computers. Cool. So we did that for some time, and then I was working at some company, Blue Cross Blue Shield. And
some company,
yeah. And
have you ever heard of it?
Yeah.
Blue Cross Blue Shield.
He was working for his father's company, and he's like, "Hey, man, you ever think about just starting your own company?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, I have not." He's like, "We should do it. We should do our own, start our own company." I'm like, "Oh, okay, let's do that." Sounds like a fucking great idea.
Sounds easy.
Sounds no problem. I go, "If we just on the side," or he goes, "No, you should just quit your job." Okay, and then he goes, "Well, how much do you make at your job?" I go, "I don't know, I make like 55, 60,000 a year." He goes, "Well, I make like 80." He goes, "Quit your job, and then I can supplement, if there's, income, because I make more money." He goes, "I just, keep putting money in if we need to, or pay your bills, whatever." I'm like, "Okay, let's do that." So I quit my job at Blue Cross Blue Shield, and we started meeting at his condo in Oak Brook, and we're just kind of game planning like what we're gonna do. Like, we don't know what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Start a computer company. Yeah. So we focused on like disaster recovery plans. Like at the time, people were like going to other businesses and they didn't know how to like store their data, where to keep their data off premises.
What year is this? 2000?
It's 2000. Yeah.
This is pre Y2K though, or
This is right after Y2K.
okay,
Yeah.
right. In the immediate aftermath, when the world did not, in fact,
The world
end.
did not end. No.
Some of you may not have known that, but
The world didn't end.
19 years ago, the world
But
was supposed to
there
end.
was no online backup that would. There was tape backups.
Yeah.
Jesus, I hated
CD-ROMs
those
weren't
things.
even out. If CD backups weren't even out yet, it was tape backup, right? So we're like, okay, that makes sense. Disaster recovery, we can scare people into like giving us their money, basically. Like, we need to keep your data safe. We're going to keep it safe. We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Bruno, edit that part out where Zito makes himself sound like a total psychopath. I mean, just
Very insidious, very malicious.
Yes.
He was doing the Montgomery Burns finger touch while he was talking.
Excellent.
See, did you just get a reference that I made?
Yes.
finally.
Yeah, but we did it.
You went far enough back.
We did it.
Far enough back in popular culture when Zito was still watching TV.
Yes. So we just game planned, and I'm like, what would he call the company? He goes, well, he was really into like Smilodons.
Okay.
People know Smilodons, the saber-toothed tiger, right? Okay. I'm like, he goes, let's call it saber-tooth computing. All right, I'm on board with that. He goes, okay, first job, you go make a logo and business cards. Great. What are we going to put in the business cards? Well, we're going to do disaster recovery plans, yada, yada, yada. Named a bunch of shit. So I'm like, okay. So I go out and I find out. At that time, I was also doing karaoke.
Okay.
So I was like a DJ for the karaoke business. And so I...
What was your DJ name again?
I didn't have a DJ name.
It wasn't anything
Wait.
fancy? It was
First
just
of all,
DJ Zito?
bro,
First of all, I didn't have a DJ name. My name is Anthony Zito. I don't understand the whole DJ names at all. It's bizarre
Dude,
to me.
can we give one? Can he be DJ Vegeta? Like, 'cause he said he's going 9,000, so instead of Vegeta, he can be Vegeta. DJ Vegeta.
He wouldn't even get that reference.
Don't even get it.
Gosh damn it.
But yeah, DJ names, bizarre. I don't get that. Can't they just be their name?
Sorry, carry on with your
Thank
story.
you.
I
So-
apologize for the interruption.
bro.
So Adam puts me in charge of this. So I reach out to my like friends who did like DJ stuff and who provided me with like lights and speakers, and they said, "Oh, use this guy for a logo." So this guy created like a cartoon logo of like a saber-tooth cat and had like weird like laser beams coming out. It's so fucking bad.
Do you have this still, this art?
I probably have.
I definitely want to see this.
Put
It's
it
so
on
horrible.
your gi. You put that on your gi.
I wanna see this not so clean design from back in the day.
Put it on the 80-pound gi.
It's so horrible. So I bring Adam was like, he's like 7 years older than I am. So I bring him these. I thought they were the greatest cards, right? I'm like, dude, I got cards. He looks at me. He's like, "Are we going to the club?" He goes, "What the fuck are these?" I'm like, "You don't like them?" he's like, "All right, they'll work. Fine. Let's just get out there and start
For
doing
the time
something."
being.
So I started like just going to places I went to already, like my local cafe, and trying to figure out what I can do for them. Can I do a website for you? Because we both knew how to do web design at the time and fix computers, build computers. We knew all that stuff, and we know how to program. I could program in all different languages. So anyway, so I started just hitting up my friends and like, hey, do you guys need help with computers? You need help with this, that, and then guys like, okay, yeah, do a website for me, or fix this computer. And I just started fixing. I would meet with Adam every week. He'd still work at his father's, and I'd meet with him every week, and we'd play chess.
Yeah.
And then he would explain to me, what I should be doing in business, and kind of like just give me encouragement. Like, hey, you're doing good. You got this client, good. And week turned after a month, 3 months, 4 months, 5, and then a year, 2 years, 3 years into it, and then I would still meet with him, but he never came with me to a client. He never quit his dad's company. He kind of just let me
just tricked you.
No,
That's what he did.
He didn't just trick me, but he kind of just said, he just kind of helped me become this like entrepreneur type person that he thought fit me, as opposed to just working in some corporate office.
Right.
He kind of saw that in me and kind of took me out of it and kind of thrust me out of the fucking world and said, this is who you should be. Go out there and do it.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
And I was doing it, and I'm just like, hey, and then years into it, he's like, listen, I want out. I go, what do you mean you want out? You're my partner. He didn't take a paycheck at all. He just, on paper, he was my partner. I think he loaned me like $2,000 during this whole process of like, to pay my car payment, whatever it was that started up. But, and I'm like, no, you're my partner. You've been my partner for life. I don't want money from you. I'm not going to give you money. No, you're here. You're still building this.
Yeah.
He, in 2007, he died of a drug overdose. So he was battling with some demons, and
Bro, I'm so sorry.
yeah. So he was dating this girl at the time who I thought was homeless. She was homeless. He pulled her in his house. She had her own issues. She had a couple kids, and he was the type of guy that would literally give the shirt off his back to you.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about drugs, but she hit him up with like a hot dose, they call it, I guess, and it stopped his heart, and then she didn't call the ambulance for like 3 hours, stole a bunch of shit. It was really tragic. And so that was 2007. After he passed away, I was so scared. I'm like, I don't have that guy in my corner to tell me I'm doing good. I'm only like 5 years into the company, and I'm just like, can I do this by myself? Like, I got nothing. And the next 2 years were really troubling for me, like trying to figure out, like, okay, I got no one to talk to really. I'm struggling a little bit here. What am I going to do? And then in 2009, I kind of picked myself together and things were going good. I hired my first employee at that time, and then just rolled through it. And
here we are a decade later.
2009.
Dude, congratulations.
2019, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so Adam, man, he did it, man. He wasn't an instructor or anything like that. It was just
it's kind of more important than that.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Crazy.
Dude. That is a hell of a story. Gosh damn, I'm gonna need a drink of this White Claw.
I feel like I should give you a little hug, but I'm not going to.
I miss him, man. He was a great guy, and it's sad. It's sad what happened to him.
I'm not going to say anything like mushy emotional, but I will say that if knowing who you are as a person, what you've accomplished, certainly from what you've just told me and what you're doing right now, I'm sure that you'd be very proud of your progress.
Thanks, man.
No problem, bro.
It's awesome that like somebody saw that in you, though. Like that's pretty interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I struggle with this, which is why I still have a full-time job. But I think everyone thinks that people that have like that entrepreneurial spirit are just like fucking born that way or some shit. Just like anytime you see somebody that actually succeeds at somebody, you're just like, oh, they're just like that. They drew the lucky fucking straw, whatever it might be. And so often that's really not the case. In your case, you had to have somebody point it out to you that you'd probably be better and happier at it.
Right.
And you had help and guidance. I mean, although honestly, like it doesn't sound like no offense, but it doesn't sound like he did that much, right? Like he didn't go to the clients, and he wasn't drawing a paycheck. He was just being a good.
He did enough to.
Yeah, he was the cricket on your shoulder.
Yeah, to keep me going, keep me in it. Yeah, to not give up. It was tough, man. It was. It's been, 18 years. But it's definitely not. It was not easy. It's still not easy to this day. I don't feel like I'm successful. I'm still hungry. I'm still working
that's probably
every day.
good,
I'm still
though.
fucking
Bro, that's like the
They have
sign.
to be at it,
That's the sign of people that truly succeed, though, is that they're. I think that in Pumping Iron, they said it's like the
reference.
wolf on the hill, he's not hungry anymore. It's the wolves below him that want the meat or something like that. Like the feeling.
Your
that
Schwarzenegger is terrible.
Dude, I don't have an impression. I just did a voice. I was like, yes, this is what. That doesn't sound like that at all. But what I was saying was like for you, man, to have that mindset of like I don't feel successful. Clearly, from what you've told us, you're successful, and you seem not only emotionally balanced and somebody that actually knows what they enjoy in life and what they like doing, but somebody that's actually inquisitive enough to find out new things. That's a wonderful mindset to have. So I'm not saying give yourself like a fucking party. I'd go, but I'm saying that like at least be grateful for the fact that like you have become this person that's I'm sure wonderful. Javier, I'm sure would attest to that.
I mean, maybe sometimes.
You guys have been best friends since kindergarten, right? That's the story.
Yeah, back in the Stone Ages,
Back in the day, I've been dying to do that the entire time. Dying.
Oh man, my mind went to a weird place when we were talking about like entrepreneurship and stuff there.
Spit it.
But just so there's I think it's just called the AI podcast with Les Friedman. He's been on Rogan a couple of times.
Okay.
He's a genius MIT guy, specializes in AI, and I just watched this episode recently, though I think it's a couple of months old maybe at this point. But he had Elon Musk on, and they were talking about like autonomous driving vehicles and AI and things like that, and it just like. It made me think, like there's a guy, that absolutely everyone's like, oh well, he's just like that, he's just a born fucking genius, trained physicist, developed, what is he on, like 7 companies now or something like that, does all this Tony Stark-esque shit. I kind of wonder what his genesis moment was there, What kicked him off? What really inspired him? I've heard an awful lot of interviews with him, and everyone's always asking him about the future. But just now, having heard that, I'm kind of curious about his past.
Mm-hmm. Well, usually when you get to know people's past, you can really understand who they are at the present and their future aspirations, which actually you beg the question, which I would pass on to both of you. And you can totally be about jiu-jitsu or anything you want, but what would you feel? No, let's narrow it down. For jiu-jitsu, what is the best piece of advice you guys have both ever been offered? Something that's stuck with you that either formulated your training or your mindset?
That's a tough one because I've seen my approach to things grow and change so much, and sometimes that change comes from advice or the experience of others. For the longest time, I was a real dyed-in-the-wool sort of like submission guy. Like my pride and joy was that I was going to go out there and I was going to fight just to the bitter end to get a submission. And like I have a veritable highlight reel of me losing until I won. A lot of pulled that shit out of your ass through tenacity and trickery.
Parlor tricks.
Well, I tell people all the time I'm really just a bag of tricks, but some of those tricks are really good. But one of my coaches one time, and he relates the story. He missed out on winning his first black belt world championship.
Okay.
Because he was up on points and dove for a finish.
Okay.
And got swept and scored on and lost.
Okay.
And, years later, he's still kicking himself for that decision to go for the finish. And I've been in those similar situations, and, like, for sure, you have to decide what's more important to you. And I'm not here to define that for anyone, of course. And sometimes I feel like, and this changes, I guess, over time, and who knows, maybe it'll change again. Sometimes I feel like I get too caught up in how I want to win.
Yes.
And not focused enough on winning. And then other times I'm like, well, that's okay because we're really just here for the journey. So the how is actually more important to me.
Right.
So yeah, I bounce between those. And I think I get more concerned about the how when I take a really savage loss. But yeah, so that's kind of like indirectly, that's kind of like some of the best advice that I got while I was at the time being cautioned to basically be a smart player, learn how to play the game, not just how to win in one particular way.
Yes.
The lesson that I actually took from it was not so much about how to win, but how to live with winning or losing.
Yeah.
Because we are all on this journey, and the destination, the end destination, doesn't really matter. It's that journey that does.
Well said, dude. That's awesome. I wish you were like an old sage told me that on a hill.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, he's kind of old, though he's like 10 years younger than me. He said it with a Brazilian accent. It wasn't really a hill. It's just in the gym on the mats. So yeah, a middle-aged Brazilian sage on the mats one time told me.
That's awesome.
Doesn't have quite the same Yoda-like ring to it, I guess.
No, that was good though, dude. Thank you. That's actually a pretty fucking awesome story. That's another White Claw drink, boys. We got another White Claw. So Zito, what do you got for me?
Oh shit.
No,
I mean, I've been a Bruce Lee fan since I saw Bruce Lee, when I was a little kid, and the saying that sticks out to me from him is, I still utilize it as use what is useful, reject what is useless. So for me, that's in life. That's it's my thing, and I definitely utilize it for just because, like Javi said earlier, sometimes you look at something like, it's not really going to work for me.
Yeah.
And you can only have so many tricks in your bag.
I will get a bigger bag.
Skyrim, I'll just get more capacity.
But the true art of like Hickson Gracie, Hodger Gracie, like knowing that I'm going to armbar you, and there is nothing that you can do to stop me from doing it. That to me is like
that's the end goal.
That's the end goal.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna armbar you. Yeah. Oh, okay. And that's it. You're getting armbarred.
The judo story. He's going to throw me. I knew it. I resist. He's like, I don't care. You're still getting thrown.
You're still getting thrown. That's that's
I tell my students that's, there's levels to the game.
Yeah.
Obviously. And the difference between, being not very good, being good, and truly great can kind of be broken down in a couple of ways. Like, when you're not very good, sometimes you see things coming, oftentimes you don't.
Yeah.
And then as you get better and better, your opponents really typically don't see it coming.
Yeah.
It's like, surprise, motherfucker, I got you.
Gotcha, bitch.
But like that transition to greatness is, it doesn't matter whether they see it coming or not.
Yeah.
They just can't stop it.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I wanted to tell this one, and there's a reason I wanted to tell it. So this is very specific.
Shoot.
So I was hired to be a basic grappling coach in Thailand at a place in Pattaya, which is the sex capital of the sex capital. Thailand, obviously the sex capital of Asia. Pattaya is the sex capital of Thailand.
All right.
I was single. I was ready to go out there and get some fucking work, and I get a girlfriend like an idiot, and I'm monogamous. Okay, what a moron. So
choices were made. They were not good.
Decisions were made. So I went down there, and I got hired to be a basic and somebody to help with weight. There's a weight loss camp. It's for people to go out there and just basically live the lifestyle of a Muay Thai fighter.
A lot of heavy people in Thailand?
Oh, no.
No, right?
No, these people are coming in from.
Yeah, they're coming in heavy, bro.
Okay.
I'm talking
You're dealing with
English
Thailand people.
and American.
Okay, there you go.
That's it.
It's not like in Thailand. Do they have an obesity problem in Thailand?
No, they have a food problem. Like, I need to eat. It's been days. No, God, I love that country. I'm going to retire in Thailand. I love that place.
Live like a king.
No, dude, they're apparently 200,000. You can live like a king for like a decade or more.
Wow.
So like, if you have 200,000, like, I mean royalty style, like whatever. So which is great because when I lived in Japan, I lived Spartan. I literally had my house, or the place I lived was about the size of this room. There's a kitchen right there, a bathroom right there, and that was my bed. And that was I was 20-second jog from my gym. So I would just live, eat sushi, go sashimi, go. That was my life. So when I was in Thailand, I had my own room and I was a coach. And when I had a shower of the head, no heat, as we've talked about
with your song,
with my song, with my Kings of Leon. And I met my boss, and my boss's name was Christian Dachio. I will tell you the reason I'm telling you the story is one that he gave me the most important advice I've ever had in competitive fights. And Christian was one of the most top 5 interesting people I've ever met in my life. He was the first Italian that ever won in Lumpini Stadium. He was a world Muay Thai kickboxing champion. There's a picture of him, if you look at my Instagram, where he has his hands out like this and he's draped in belts. He fought over, I believe, 240 times in Muay Thai. And he fought in boxing over 30 times, in which he was undefeated until his last one. That is very pertinent. So little teaser right there. He spoke very good English, but he had that joyful Italian to him, that bravado that he gives. He's like, "Hey, Andrew, so nice to see you." Okay, by the way, he didn't sound like Mario. That's just me. I'm inadequate at many things. Impressions is one of them, but that's what you're gonna have to deal with. Okay, this guy was a fucking tank. Okay, he was unbelievable. He was a policeman there for foreigners. So when Russians and Americans and UK would go there and they'd get drunk and ladyboys would hit on them and whatever would happen, he would have to be the one to be called in there to break things up because he not only spoke both Thai, he has a Thai wife and a child, he also spoke English and Italian. So he had good grasp on languages. And he would break it up and usually end up beating the shit out of the tourist. In fact, I have so many hilarious stories of Christian, and I'm just going to tell one, and it's 10 seconds. This one Russian was just like, this lady boy tried to grab me. And so Christian took it. By the way, that wasn't Russian. I tried, guys. I tried. So Christian took him, and he started fighting against Christian. Christian just kind of like Muay Thai plumbed him, which he got his hands around his head, yanked him down to Muay Thai clinch, and then threw him into his car, cuffed him, and was just hitting him. And all of a sudden, fireworks started going off. And they both look up out the window, and they're staring. He's like, it's for like 5 seconds. We both look out the window. It's so beautiful. There's so many fireworks, and we both look at each other, and I say, "A Happy New Year." And then I punch him in the face. So Christian he was so funny and charismatic and unbelievable. And boy, did he love history. And he loved, spoiler, the Romans, I'm sure. He was Italian. And all he would tell me about and we would talk about Caesar and Attila and Hannibal and Scipio and all these amazing, the House of Brutai, all these amazing things. I'd be like, "Oh, I played Total War on computer. I know about the Romans." Like all these different things. And I love history. So we would talk about just, the Pompous Magnus and all that, like all the battles they had. And he also loved Benito Mussolini.
Oh, jeez.
So he was a big fan of Mussolini, which, by the way, I thought that was rare. In Italian, he kind of had in Italy, he still has kind of like a following of people liking him, kind of like how Russians defend Putin when they're like, "Well, yeah, he's harsh, but like you need to be harsh to run Russia." Like that, I've met many Russian people that are straight Russian from Russia that are like, I don't like his politics, but like Russia needs a strong hand to run it. And then you're like, "What about all the crimes against humanity?" They're like, "Yeah, Russia." I'm like, all right, that's Russia. But for Christian, he would tell me, he's like, He's like, I'm not racist. I don't mind the blacks. I have no problem with it. I'm sitting there like, oh, the blacks are the pricey. And he's like, in Mussolini, he didn't carry he wasn't racist. I'm like, I don't historically think that's accurate. But what he would basically tell me is he loved, and in a very, very great parallel, is like to Teddy Roosevelt, that machismo, that I wrestle, I box, I swim, I'm an athlete, I'm a hunter. I love Teddy Roosevelt. I'm a hunter, all this different stuff. So he loved that. And I loved him for being that person. I loved him for being interesting and intriguing. But under that all, he was a sweetheart. He had a great soul, guys. I mean, he was so into Thai culture, but also he had pride as a fighter. And he told me, he's like, it's how long have you been fighting? He's like, I come out the womb and the punch people. He's just like, this is my life. I can't stop. I go, how old are you? He's like, And then he'd wink at me, and then he'd drink his fucking espresso. Those people, by the way, they had espressos, 6 of them. 6. All the Italians I lived with, they had 6 espressos a day. I was like, if I have one, they'd be drinking like cafe at 10. Bro, I gotta sleep in an hour. Hey, little kid, put you to sleep. So he trained harder than I've ever, every day. And he made me do it with him. I would do Muay Thai with him. I'd do clinch work with him. I'd show him JiuJitsu. He only had like 4 MMA fights, but I would show him grappling. And that was the happiest I've ever been, which I'll touch on later when I was talking about how to be routinely happy. But that was the happiest I've ever been. The thing I always say is I woke up and I'd go to brush my teeth and I'd go into the mirror and I'd be smiling, and that would not be a conscious action. I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm going to smile now. Like, I'd just naturally happy. I had no worries. I had zero stress. I was just training martial arts and giving it like knowledge to people and watching them. And I'm sure you guys have seen it when you find somebody in your life that knows nothing of like grappling or like martial arts, but you give them power and you give them confidence and you see them grow as a person. Mm-hmm. I'd spend 4 months with people, 6 months sometimes, with people that just wanted to lose weight, wanted to be happier, wanted to drop their cortisol, wanted to actually believe in themselves. And then you would see them get this through Muay Thai, through Jiu-Jitsu, through eating the right stuff, through talks, therapy, just talking to somebody, and you would see them change into this. Just is beautiful. It was probably one of the best parts of my life. And Christian loved that. He would love that too. He would always like hug people and all that stuff. And here's a guy that fought 270 times, like Muay Thai, like I said, is like 240, 250, and then boxing maybe at the end 30. I left there, I think 2 years ago, and we were talking about fighting. The last time I was in the ring was 2014, in the cage, is 2014, and you can actually see it on UFC TV. I won that Neo Blood Pancrase tournament, and I was telling him that I always feel this weird urge to get back in the cage, and I don't know why, because I'm not a competitor, but I it's always with me. And he goes, well, if you do, here's my advice. And I'm going to spare everybody listening this accent and just tell you the advice. He goes,
I like the accent.
Thanks, I appreciate that. He goes, the last Muay Thai fight he had to defend his belt, he won. And he came home. And I gave him a big hug. And I was like, I'm so proud of you, buddy. And he's just like, I'm not. I'm like, why? And he just goes, he deserved to win. And I go, the fuck are you talking about? You dropped him with a body shot, bro. And he's just like, no. I got lucky with a liver shot, Bas Rutten call out. Got lucky with a liver shot, but he was beating me. And I stared at him and I was like, bro, when I won, I would cry. I'd be so elated. Like, I don't, how are you, like, I get it. You've done it a lot, but you just defended your belt. Like, what's the matter? He goes, sit down. And then, oh gosh, it'd be great if I did a little Boondock Saints. Sit the fuck down. Snap and point out. So he sat me down and he goes, let me tell you something. He goes, there are 4 situations you get as a fighter. And 2 circumstances. One is you trained, one is you did not. First situation, you get in the ring and you win. You win and you didn't train as hard as you could have. And he goes, that feeling is what I'm feeling right now. And it is a victory, but it's empty. There is nothing there for me except I could have trained harder. I could have eaten better. I got in that ring mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I wasn't there. I wasn't ready. But I won. But I could have done better. And I almost lost this one. So there's an emptiness to that victory. He goes, the second is that you don't train and you go in there and you lose. There is no more crushing feeling than knowing that an opponent has bested you when you were not at your best, because you have zero excuse except yourself. You got in that ring, that person put their hands on you and physically manipulated you to whatever they wanted to do to you, and you, with your laziness, did not train. You did not focus. You did not eat right. And you did not think about this fight as if it was your last fight. And you deserve that loss. Now suffer. And he goes, the third one is you go in there when you did train, when you did eat well, when you did suffer, and you win. And the elation and euphoria you feel is insurmountable. You are so happy. You are so content. You are so at peace. And you never slept better unless you bed your wife. And the last one is when you lose and you have trained as hard as you've had. There is a satisfaction in saying, I may have lost, but this person undoubtedly is better than me because I gave him my best. He deserves it. Which circumstance are you going to do? You get into that cage when you're ready, and that's it. Don't ever accept anything else. Christian died in the ring 2 years ago. I found out his age. I think he was in his mid-40s. He had never stopped fighting, and he went out on his shield, and that's how he wanted it. I didn't grieve him the way you would consider somebody dying tragically, because there was a very small, perhaps a morbid part of me that was happy about it, because I knew that's probably how I wanted to go out, fighting. But that message never left me. And it's the best advice I could pass on to people that want to compete or that want to do anything worthwhile. You be prepared and you work your ass off for it. And the victory is great. And I'll close that story on this quote. I sent this to my dad when I won the pancreas tournament. I hope I don't fuck this up, but it's from Vincent Lombardi. And I believe it goes something along the lines of, the greatest accomplishment any man can have is when he has worked his heart out for a good cause and he lies exhausted on the field of battle, victorious. And I think there's nothing better than that.
Heck no. That was awesome, man. That's great.
It's powerful.
Right. That's great, man. Fucking phenomenal story.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I ran out of White Claws, so I can't drink too much. I'm sorry I've been pounding White Claws. You guys are sitting there.
You're good, man. Where can people find you?
Oh, shit. Oh, gosh, shameless plug. That's right.
Yes. The best part of the podcast.
Yeah, right.
Talking about the social media that Zito hates so much.
Oh, bro, can I do a charity real quick?
For sure.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Fuck yeah.
Guys, so check this out. The people that have, and I didn't even get to talk about it, like how I train or anything like that. That was my fault. I went off and just talking to you. I was obsessed with listening and talking about the Grapplers Union. I'm so interested in you guys. You both are so awesome. This is Wade's Army, and this is a charity battling neuroblastoma. And every year or so, Power Athlete, which I really pay attention to, they are probably like the best people I've ever gone to with like sports fitness or sports nutrition. They put out this Wade's Army shirt, and what happens is when you buy one for something like $35 or something like that, they send you a shirt. This year's shirt is awesome. It's a green shirt. I always try to participate. What's more important is that there's a guy I'm kind of friends with. I really enjoy him. He works there as well. His name's Tex, and he's a sociopath. And what's going to happen is when you buy enough shirts, they're going to shock the shit out of them with a taser. Okay. And I need to see this, guys. I can't put into words how much I need to see this man get shocked. He's a babe. Oh my gosh, he's a good looking cat. So to see him in pain, it's just ecstasy to me. He's such a good guy too. So I love to see him in pain because I'm a bad person. But I would truly appreciate if anybody to support neuroblastoma, please at least look it up to see what it is. It affects children. Unfortunately, it usually ends as well as it did with Wade and them passing away. And we're really trying to get rid of it, and we're doing the best we can. We've raised so much money. Power Athlete has definitely really took this head on. So I just want to say this right now. It is give.classy.org/Wade. Just click become a fundraiser, click as an individual. You can do your username, password, whatever, and then, just buy a shirt, guys. If you won't do it for Zito or Javier, or I don't know why you wouldn't do it for me. You clearly we're in love with each other, whoever's listening to this, but do it because you want to shock the shit out of Tex. That's the guy that's getting it. He needs it. More importantly, I need to see it. So make it happen. And, please, and also do check out Power Athlete because, guys, like I said, all my advancements in athleticism or how I teach people or coach people, a lot of it comes from them, and I think they know what they're talking about. The only plug I have for myself is this. My Instagram is routinely_happy_coaching. That's it. I would like to say, if I can end on any note, is that I, once again, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants of people that have come before me. I'm sure you guys have had way more interesting conversation, but the fact that you guys would ever get me on this show, I'd like to thank Jake, who is just a sweetheart of a guy, and I'm sure an animal on the mats. I never got to roll with him, but I always see him with pictures of his shirt off and his tongue out, and he looks like some sort of Viking. I'm going to start calling him Tyr. Yeah, man, thank you so much. And, of course, thank you to Top Notch for putting up with me, and Coach Mac and everybody else. They're all sweethearts. Thank you guys very much.
It's been a pleasure meeting you, man.
No, it's been pleasure's all mine, bro. Pleasure's
we'll
all mine.
definitely get some rolls in, too, one day.
Oh,
we had
gosh.
10 planche lumbar.
You guys shouldn't say that because I will follow up with you.
Sweet.
I know
Absolutely.
where you work.
Yes. I do.
Well, you know where Zito works.
Yes.
So thank you guys so much.
Cool, man. All right, we'll see you guys.
Take it
Bye.
easy.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. For more information about Grappler Union Podcast, you could visit us at our website at grapplerunion.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Grappler Union. Please like us on Facebook. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes. And all of our episodes are available on our YouTube channel. Say what?
Be sure to subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe to all that shit. You got to do another take, right?
Oh.